Chapter 578. Douluo, you've gone too far. Huyenzhen stood up and clenched his fists. He was furious. Huyenzhen was only a sole Douluo, and couldn't compare to other titled Douluo. However, he wasn't afraid of Douluo. Huyenzhen still dared to fight Douluo, who was known as the weakest titled Douluo. After all, he was the sect leader of the Elephantine sect, one of the 4 lower sections. His abilities weren't ordinary. However, what he didn't know was that Douluo's abilities weren't ordinary. He had formed his poison pill, and was at rank 94. Huyenzhen couldn't compare to him anymore. Even the frenzy Rhino Douluo wasn't Douluo's match now. Heh, do you want to fight? Although I don't have any desire to fight, I can fulfill your request if you're looking for a fight. Douluo chuckled coldly. You! Huyenzhen clenched his fists. It seemed like he really wanted to fight Douluo one-on-one. Sakas, who had been silent all this while, stopped him when he saw this. Sakas, why are you stopping me? Huyenzhen was a little angry as he questioned Sakas. Sakas only replied to Huyenzhen's anger. He's an elder of the Dragon King Palace now. He's no longer the Douluo of the past. The Dragon King Palace? Huyenzhen calmed down when he heard this. The Dragon King Palace was very powerful now. In particular, the Dragon Emperor Douluo, Long Xiaoyao, was very intimidating. According to what Huyenzhen knew, even the Martial Soul Palace was afraid of Long Xiaoyao. For example, the Martial Soul Palace didn't do anything when Sakas was beaten up. After all, he's an ultimate Douluo. He's very intimidating. Huyenzhen couldn't help but sigh when he thought of this. His Elephantine sect couldn't afford to offend the Dragon King Palace. As for the Martial Soul Palace, they wouldn't offend an ultimate Douluo unless they went to war. Therefore, he had to restrain himself for now. He would take revenge in the future when he had the chance. However, Douluo had really benefited from this. Huyenzhen thought to himself indignantly. But he sat down again. Haha, Sakas, it seems like you've become a lot more obedient after being beaten up by the Dragon Emperor Douluo. Douluo couldn't help but mock Sakas as he stopped Huyenzhen. He didn't have a good relationship with the Martial Soul Palace to begin with, and this time, Lu Yuan did the design behind his back. He really thought that the Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace were going against each other. Therefore, the sarcasm in his tone was quite genuine and came from his heart. If it was in the past, he would not have dared to go against the Martial Soul Palace. After all, although he was not afraid of death, he still had to take care of his granddaughter, Douluo. However, now that he had joined the Dragon King Palace, he was not worried at all. He just mocked Sakas. After hearing Douluo's words, Sakas couldn't help but turn black. He knew that the Dragon King Palace belonged to the Holy Sun, and he also knew that everything was part of the Holy Sun's plan. He had collaborated with him to put on a show for the Snowy Night Emperor and the others. However, after being mocked by Douluo, and looking at Douluo's despicable old face that was smiling like a chrysanthemum, Sakas was still furious. Although he wanted to flare up, he still remembered Lu Yuan's words. He still had to put on this show, so he had to endure it for the time being. Sakas decided that when the Holy Sun's identity was completely revealed in the future, and he no longer had to hide it, he would definitely settle the score with Douluo today. Sakas snorted, and his face was filled with displeasure. However, he didn't get into a conflict with Douluo. Instead, he sat down quietly. Douluo's smile became even wider when he saw this scene. At the side, the Snowy Night Emperor and Ningfengji couldn't help but smile when they saw how the two of them were like fire and water. The fact that the Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace were at odds with each other was really a good thing for them. Sakas is indeed a pig-like opponent. This wave of assistance is really great. It has pushed the Dragon King Palace to our side. This way, it will be much easier for us to rope them in. Sakas, who sat down with a black face, snorted in disdain when he saw the smug Douluo, the smiling Snowy Night Emperor, and Ning Fengji. A bunch of fools who have been kept in the dark. You may be smug now, but you don't know that you are all just chess pieces in the palm of the Holy Sun's hand. When you find out the truth, you will definitely be dumbfounded. Especially you, old fogey, Snowy Night Emperor. You probably won't even know how you died in the future. Not only that, but when the Holy Sun and Miss Cher take over the entire Heaven Do Empire, your royal family will also be wiped out. Hee, so all you have to do now is laugh. If you laugh now, at most I will lose some face. When I laugh, you will already be dead. With this thought in mind, Sokka's felt a lot more comfortable. He also ignored the mocking expressions on their faces. However, his face was still as smelly as a dead man's. There's nothing I can do about it. His Highness the Saint has instructed me to perform well. I must let His Highness know that my acting skills are also top-notch. Who knows, maybe His Highness the Holy Sun will bestow upon me 2 more longevity pills, Salus thought happily. In the VIP area, Sokka's thoughts were very exciting. Below the stage, Lu Yuan and the others were already prepared. Half an hour was not a long time, and it passed by very quickly. Hello everyone, the preparation time is over. The match is about to begin. Next, let us invite the contestants from both sides to the stage. The host's voice sounded. It has finally begun. I wonder if the Heavenly Star Academy will change their contestants this time? Huo Wushwang's voice sounded in the spectator area. They probably won't. After all, the Elephant Academy's strength is only SOSO. They are not as strong as the Thunder Academy. Although Hu Yanli and the others are full of confidence, I don't think they will win, Shui Bing'er, who had long ice-blue hair, said. What you said makes sense. I just don't know where Hu Yanli got his confidence from. Huo Wushwang scratched his head, puzzled. The Elephant Academy was not just one person who was so confident, but all the members were. He was really puzzled. Where did these people's confidence come from? Could it be that he had misjudged them? Did Hu Yanli and the others really have a powerful trump card? At this time, Feng Xiaotian, who had been silent all this time, touched his chin and said softly, "There is a rumor that Hu Yanzhen of the Elephant Academy bought a soul bone some time ago. It seems that Hu Yanli has absorbed it." Soul bone? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Could this be the source of Hu Yanli's confidence? They can't be so stupid, right? Do they think that a soul bone can turn the tide and make a desperate counterattack? Shui Yu-er's charming voice sounded. Chapter 579. Maybe they are just so naive. Feng Xiaotian said. Not maybe, didn't I say that they are not naive, but stupid, idiots who only grow muscles but not brains. Fire Dance lightly said. Yes, Sister Fire Dance is right, they are a group of idiots. Hearing the words of Fire Dance, Feng Xiaotian quickly echoed, with a trace of flattery in his tone. Bah, bootlicker! Seeing the performance of Feng Xiaotian, Shui Yu-er could not help but spit. The dignified captain of the God Wind Academy was actually acting like a bootlicker for this tomboy Fire Dance. He really had no eyesight. Bootlicker, bootlicker, bootlicker until there is nothing left. Shui Yu-er's voice was very small, similar to a whisper. Feng Xiaotian and the others were separated by a certain distance, and their attention was focused on the ring not far away, so they did not hear Shui Yu-er's words. But Shui Bing'er, who was beside her, heard it, and could not help but glare at Shui Yu-er. Being glared at by Shui Bing'er, Shui Yu-er could not help but stick out her tongue, with a cute expression on her face. Seeing this, Shui Bing'er could not help but shake her head, this younger sister of hers. Shui Yu opened her ice-blue big eyes, and looked at the ring not far away. With her long eyelashes fluttering, she said in a crisp voice, "I don't know when Prince Charming will appear. I really want to see Prince Charming's performance." After saying that, her face was full of expectation. Hearing this, Shui Bing could not help but gently shake her head. This younger sister of hers still had the nerve to say that Feng Xiaotian was a bootlicker, and you were a love-struck fool. Don't call the pot calling the kettle black. Who was better than the other? But after listening to Shui Yu's words, Shui Bing's face could not help but reveal a trace of expectation. In fact, she was also very curious about Lu Yuan's current strength. But she did not know when this guy would appear. Did he have to wait until the match against the Blazing Fire Academy? Shui Bing secretly thought, and looked at Lu Yuan and the others who were not far away in the waiting area. It's time to go on stage. Hearing the host's voice, Lu Yuan stretched his waist, and looked at Zhu Zhuqing beside him, and both of them nodded. Captain, do your best. Ling Wei clenched his fists and said loudly. What are you talking about? Captain needs to be cheered on? I think this match will end in at most 1 minute. Ning Rongrong immediately retorted after hearing Ling Wei's words. She had a cheerful smile on her face. Over the past few days, perhaps because Lu Yuan's attitude towards her had improved a lot, her mood had always been very good. Her entire person had become much more cheerful, and there was a hint of playfulness and cuteness to her. Sister Rongrong, you're wrong. Chiu thinks that brother can finish in half a minute. Wang Chiu disagreed with Ning Rongrong's opinion. She worshipped Lu Yuan the most blindly. She felt that her brother was omnipotent. Half a minute was enough to defeat a mere elephant academy. He didn't need a minute at all. Yes, Chiu is right. Sister Rongrong is wrong. Half a minute is enough. After hearing Wang Chiu's words, Ning Rongrong stroked her chin and pondered for a while. She actually nodded in agreement. After hearing their words, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. How much do these guys look down on the Elephant Academy? It seems like they don't see the Elephant Academy as a threat at all. However, when Lu Yuan thought about it carefully, it seemed like he didn't see them as a threat either. It seemed like these guys had really learned something from him after hanging out with him for so long. Other things aside, their horizons were getting higher and higher. After thinking for a while, Lu Yuan said softly to Zhu Zhuqing, "Let's go, Zhuqing." After thinking for a while, he stood up. Yes. Zhu Zhuqing acknowledged and stood up as well. She followed behind Lu Yuan, and the two of them walked towards the arena at the same time. The first team to go up is our Elephant Academy. They're moving very quickly, and they're already in formation. It seems like the Elephant Academy is taking this competition very seriously. It's no wonder. After all, their opponent is the Heavenly Star Academy. The Heavenly Star Academy hasn't lost a single match since the start of the competition. The host said loudly. Well, let's take a look at the contestants of the Heavenly Star Academy. Their contestant this time is... Oh my God! At this point, the host's voice suddenly paused, and then he exclaimed, What did I just see? Our contestant Huang Long and Zhu Zhuqing from the Heavenly Star Academy are going up? This is the first time they've appeared in the qualifiers. Can we finally see their wonderful performance today? There was a trace of excitement in the host's voice. Suddenly, his voice paused again and then rose a few notches. Why did the Heavenly Star Academy only send contestant Huang Long and Zhu Zhuqing this time? Do they want to deal with the Elephant Academy with just the two of them? As soon as the host's voice fell, the figures of Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing appeared on the arena. Lu Yuan had his hands slightly behind his back, and his face was calm. He looked at the Elephant Academy opposite him without the slightest fluctuation in his eyes, as if he had completely ignored them. Beside him, Zhu Zhuqing's face was cold, and there seemed to be no warmth in her eyes. She looked like a stranger who didn't want to get close to her. As soon as the two of them appeared, they didn't do anything. Just the aura they exuded attracted the attention of the audience. My Prince Charming, he's on the arena? Shui Yu rubbed her big blue eyes. She thought she was seeing things. After rubbing her eyes, she looked again. Lu Yuan's figure was still standing on the arena. Sister, My Prince Charming is really on the arena. Shui Yuer pulled Shui Bing Er's sleeve, and there was a trace of excitement on her face. It couldn't be so accurate. She had just said that she wanted to see her Prince Charming on the arena, and he really did. This surprise was too big, wasn't it? Shui Yuer couldn't help but put her hands on her chest, and her big eyes stared at the arena without blinking. Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing, the two of them who have been hiding their strength all this while, have both stepped up. Moreover, it's only the two of them. Does this mean that they want to fight 7 against 2? Feng Xiaotian rubbed his chin and said thoughtfully. It seems so. Hu Wushuang said softly. This guy is still as arrogant as ever. Looking at Lu Yuan, who had his hands behind his back, Hu Wu muttered to herself. This scene reminded her of the scene in Heaven Do Imperial Academy. At that time, Lu Yuan was fighting 1 against 7, and now there was only one more person, Zhu Zhuqing. Let me see how strong you are now. Hu Wu said softly. Palace Lord Lu is actually going to fight personally today, and 2 against 7? Looking at the two people on the arena, Snowy Knight Emperor, who was in the VIP area, couldn't help but ask with interest. I heard that Palace Lord Lu didn't plan to fight personally, but when he heard that the opponent was Team Wang Jia, he decided to fight at the last minute. He said that he wanted to learn from Team Wang Jia. Ning Fengji's tone carried a trace of deep meaning. After hearing Ning Fengji's words, Snowy Knight Emperor revealed a faint smile as he understood what Ning Fengji meant. Dragon King Palace was unhappy with Martial Soul Palace and wanted to seek revenge in today's match. That was why Lu Yuan, the Palace Lord, was going to fight personally. But why was Snowy Knight Emperor so happy when he saw this scene? It definitely wasn't because the conflict between Dragon King Palace and Martial Soul Palace was getting deeper and deeper. Yes, it definitely wasn't, the Emperor of Snowy Night thought to himself, but he couldn't stop the smile from spreading across his face. Chapter 580. Humph. After hearing Ning Fengji's words, Huyen Zhen couldn't help but snort. No matter how strong the Dragon King Hall is, it's impossible for the two of them to defeat Ali's team of 7. He was still confident in Huyenli. Although he was definitely not as strong as Lu Yuan, his confidence in defeating the Heavenly Star team was built on the assumption that Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing wouldn't make a move. If Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing were to replace Jing Ling and Jiang Zhu, with all 7 members of the Celestial Star Battle Team present, Huyen Zhen wouldn't dare to say that the Wang Jia Academy Battle Team would win. After all, he was also a Contra Douluo and had a rough estimate of the strength of both sides. He wasn't as blindly confident as Huyenli. However, with only Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing, Huyenli didn't believe that they would be strong enough to defeat Ali's team of 7. Unless it was the Golden Generation from the Martial Soul Palace, it wouldn't be possible. After all, they were the most famous geniuses on the continent. However, there were only 3 members of the Golden Generation from the Martial Soul Palace. The only one above them was the legendary Holy Sun from the Martial Soul Palace, who was the most talented person in the Douluo continent. Although Lu Yuan didn't look simple, and he was the Dragon King Hall's Hall Master, he didn't look very old. Even if his talent was extraordinary, he could only be compared to the Golden Generation. He could be considered a Soul King. As for Zhu Zhuqing, Huyen Zhen didn't believe that she could be very strong. At most, she was a Soul Ancestor. A Soul King and a Soul Ancestor. If the two of them teamed up, it would be very difficult for them to defeat Ali's team. After all, Ali still had a trump card. Huyen Zhen had always believed in the power of the Soul Bone. He had spent a lot of money to buy it. With it, Ali would be like a tiger that had grown wings. The Weaver Academy had a high chance of winning this match. It was Lu Yuan's fault for being too arrogant. He actually dared to fight 2 against 7. Let's give him a crushing defeat and tell him not to be too arrogant. It's better to keep a low profile. Huyen Zhen thought to himself. The ignorant are truly fearless. While Huyenjun was still thinking, Douluo's voice rang out and immediately woke Huyenjun up from his thoughts. Douluo, what do you mean? Do you think I'm wrong? Huyenjun's eyes widened as he looked at Douluo. He didn't argue with him just now, but this guy came out to cause trouble again? You're not just wrong. That's **t. Just you wait. If this match goes on for more than a minute and you still haven't lost, I'll eat this chair in front of me on the spot, Douluo said solemnly. Oh? Elder Douluo, are you that confident in Palace Master Lu? Hearing Douluo's words, the Snowy Night Emperor couldn't help but ask curiously. That's right. Our Palace Master's strength is definitely beyond your imagination. All of you better open your eyes and take a good look. Huyenli and the others are simply no match for him. Douluo waved his hand and said indifferently. It seemed like he didn't take Huyenli and the others seriously at all. Is Palace Master Lu that strong? The Snowy Night Emperor couldn't help but look at Ningfengji with a questioning look in his eyes. In response to the Snowy Night Emperor's question, Ningfengji nodded slightly and said, In my opinion, Palace Master Lu is the #1 person in the entire Douluo continent's younger generation. His strength is beyond imagination. Hearing Ningfengji give such a high evaluation, the Snowy Night Emperor couldn't help but reveal a trace of surprise in his eyes. Even with Ningfengji's steadiness, he actually praised Lu Yuan as the #1 person in the younger generation. Just how terrifying was Lu Yuan's strength? Haha! Just as the Snowy Night Emperor was astonished, Huyenjun couldn't help but laugh. He said, Sect Master Ning, don't brag blindly. #1 person in the younger generation? The real #1 person in the younger generation is the Holy Son of the Martial Soul Palace. He's the true genius of the entire Douluo continent. This Lu Yuan is still far from that. Haha! Ningfengji chuckled, and didn't argue with Huyenjun. On the other hand, Douluo glanced at Huyenjun with disdain in his eyes. It seemed like he was saying that Huyenjun was ignorant. He knew how powerful Lu Yuan was, and he didn't think that there was anyone who was more talented and stronger than Lu Yuan, who was the Holy Son of the Martial Soul Palace. How could he be compared to his palace master? As for Sokka's, he had a strange expression on his face. He really wanted to know what kind of expression these people would have when they found out that the Palace Master of the Dragon King Palace and the Holy Son of the Martial Soul Palace were the same person. However, when he thought about it, it should be very interesting. On the stage, Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing stood slightly upright. It was just the two of them, but the aura they gave off made Huyenli and the others not dare to underestimate them. The people below the stage might not be able to feel the pressure in the air, but Huyenli and the others could clearly feel it. They originally wanted to say something sarcastic, but after sensing the aura from Lu Yuan and Douluo, they all swallowed their words. Contestant Lu Yuan, are you going to fight against the entire Wangjia Academy team with just the two of you? The host's voice carried a trace of inquiry. After all, 2 against 7 was still too shocking, so the host wanted to confirm it with Lu Yuan. Facing the host's question, Lu Yuan nodded slightly and said softly, Yes, let's begin. Okay. After receiving an accurate answer from Lu Yuan, the host nodded and said loudly, We just received an accurate answer from contestant Lu Yuan. This match will be between contestant Lu Yuan and contestant Zhu Zhuqing against the Wangjia Academy team. Therefore, I hereby announce that the 11th round of the qualifiers, the match between the Heavenly Star Academy team and the Wangjia Academy team, officially begins. As soon as the host's voice fell, the crowd was immediately excited. All the spectators were enthusiastic. 1 against 7, they were very much looking forward to it. Brothers, activate your soul rings! Huyenli shouted, and the students of the Wangjia Academy team activated their soul rings one after another. Suddenly, yellow and purple lights flashed on the stage. Hu Yanli and the 2 disciples beside him had 2 yellow and 2 purple soul rings appear on their bodies at the same time. The remaining 4 people had 2 yellow and 1 purple soul rings on their bodies. 3 soul ancestors and 4 soul elders. This was the strength of the Wang Jia Academy team. The members of the Wang Jia Academy team were all burly men. Each of them was more than 2 meters tall and weighed more than 300 kilograms. When the 7 of them stood together, they looked like 7 mountains of flesh. Not to mention other things, their deterrence was not bad. It was a bit intimidating. Chapter 581. Hu Yanli took a step forward and cupped his fist. He had changed quite a bit after the martial soul possession. If Hu Yanli's original appearance could be described as somewhat simple and honest, then the current Hu Yanli with his martial soul possession looked somewhat ferocious. His body was filled with explosive muscles, and there was a layer of dark golden cuticle on his skin that shone with a metallic luster. What was even more unique was that his nose had also extended, becoming very long. At the same time, his upper lip had turned up, and his 2 fangs had grown by more than a foot. This was how the Diamond Mammoth martial soul possession of the Elephant Armor sect looked like. Hu Yanli wasn't the only one. The rest of the Elephant Armor sect disciples looked the same. Their appearance after being possessed by their martial soul was quite intimidating. Captain of the Elephant Armor Academy, Hu Yanli, Martial Soul Diamond Mammoth. Level 43 Defense Type Battle Soul Ancestor. Hu Yanli looked at Lu Yuan seriously. This man was simply standing there, but he gave off an unimaginable amount of pressure. It was as if there was something in him that could crush him. Alright, there's no need to say so much. Let's begin. Lu Yuan had been wanting to complain about Hu Yanli's behavior of reporting their levels for a long time. At the beginning, Lu Yuan didn't think much of it. However, he felt that it was silly to report one's level before the start of the match. What was the point of reporting one's level? It was meaningless, and it was a waste of time. Hence, Lu Yuan didn't bother with Hu Yanli. Zhu Qing. Lu Yuan called out softly and his voice was heard. Zhu Qing nodded. Then, she took 2 steps forward. The imposing aura on her body suddenly rose. A mass of black light appeared on Zhu Qing's body. Then, it instantly attached itself to her body. Meow. With a loud meow, Zhu Qing's 2 jade-like hands grew long and sharp claws at the same time. Her pair of ears also became small and cute, fluffy cat ears. Behind her, a thin and long black tail swayed in the air. Behind her, a huge black cat figure appeared. At the same time, Zhu Qing's originally clear black and white eyes turned into a clear blue like sapphires, exuding a noble aura. Beneath Zhu Qing's body, 5 soul rings, yellow, purple, black, and black, slowly rose up. A powerful pressure emanated from Zhu Qing's body towards Hu Yanli and the others. Zhu Qing, Vice Captain of the Heavenly Star Battle Team. Martial Soul 9 Lives Links. Level 52 Agility System Soul King. Zhu Qing's cold voice sounded as she reported her level. After all, Lu Yuan didn't care about these rules because Lu Yuan was arrogant and carefree. He didn't care about these rules. However, Zhu Qing was from a noble family, and had a marriage agreement with the Star Luo royal family since she was young. She understood these rules. Since Hu Yanli reported his level, she had to report her level as a sign of respect according to the rules of the world of Soul Masters. Since Lu Yuan didn't report his level, Zhu Qing could only do it herself. After all, she couldn't be rude in public. As Lu Yuan's woman, she would help Lu Yuan settle things that Lu Yuan didn't notice. After hearing Zhu Qing report her level, Lu Yuan couldn't help but look at her. He smiled and shook his head. He instantly understood what she meant. She was afraid that others would say that the Heavenly Star Battle Team didn't know their manners, so she did this. This girl was indeed very sensible. On the other hand, he had neglected many things because of his temper. Level 52 Soul King? 10,000 years of fourth soul rings. Zhu Zhuqing is a soul king. Just as Lu Yuan was sighing at Zhu Zhuqing's sensibility, there were many exclamations. Zhu Zhuqing is actually a soul king? Seeing the 5 soul rings on Zhu Zhuqing's body, the faces of the various teams in the viewing area surged with intense shock. Zhu Zhuqing, the vice-captain of the Heavenly Star Academy's team, was actually a soul king. This news had greatly exceeded their expectations. Not only a soul king, but a 10,000 years of fourth soul rings soul king. Hu Wu clenched her fist, a trace of unwillingness in her eyes. She didn't expect the Heavenly Star Academy to be so strong. With such an opponent, could the Blazing Fire Academy still win? No matter how competitive she was, she couldn't help but admit that their Blazing Fire Academy simply couldn't win against a team with a Soul King. Moreover, there was still that person. A 10,000 years of fourth Soul Ring Soul King? Hu Wushuang and Feng Xiaotian glanced at each other. Both of them could see the shock in each other's eyes. Zhu Zhuqing wasn't old, she was definitely younger than them. After all, there was still a trace of immaturity on her face. She was definitely younger than Zhu Zhuqing. But even so, she had already reached the Soul King rank. This kind of talent really made people's hearts tremble. Right, if Zhu Zhuqing is a Soul King, then what about Prince Charming? He's the captain. His strength is definitely stronger than Zhu Zhuqing's. Just when everyone was shocked by Zhu Zhuqing's rank, Shui Yuer's crisp voice rang out. His words instantly caused everyone to fall silent. If Zhu Zhuqing is a Soul King, then Lu Yuan must be at least a Soul King. Shui Yuer stared at the stage with a trace of complexity in her eyes. She finally knew why Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing dared to go up against the 7 people from the Leopardia Academy. After all, 2 existences that were at least Soul Kings. Wouldn't it be easy for them to beat the Leopardia Academy's team? Hiss, they're really too strong. If I were to meet them, I'd directly forfeit the qualifiers. Feng Xiaotian's voice rang out. Hearing Feng Xiaotian's unambitious words, the people present not only didn't laugh at him, but instead nodded in deep agreement. Losing 2 matches in the qualifiers was actually not a big deal, as long as they could enter the qualifiers. Facing an opponent like the Heavenly Star Academy, losing was certain. So instead of fighting and exposing more of their strength to the other teams, it was better to just admit defeat. On the contrary, they could hide their strength and prepare for the qualifiers. To be honest, it wasn't only Feng Xiaotian, but even Shui Yuer and the others had such thoughts. Hu Wushuang naturally had such thoughts as well, but he looked at Hu Wu and sighed slightly. His sister and Lu Yuan had already made an appointment, so this match had to be fought. But when he thought of facing a lineup of 2 Soul Kings and 5 Soul Ancestors, Hu Wushuang couldn't help but tremble in his heart. Their Blazing Fire Academy would definitely lose completely in such a battle. Sister, you're cheating your brother with your strength. I'm really not interested in this kind of battle where you're destined to be beaten. Hu Wushuang couldn't help but shake his head and sigh deeply. Chapter 582. Ha 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 ha. In the VIP seats, Douluo burst into laughter and turned to Huyanjun. Old stupid elephant, do you still think you can win? Hee hee, a 10,000-year Soul King with 4 rings, isn't that surprising enough? Douluo's face was full of smiles. His green eyes looked straight at Huyanjun, and his tone carried a hint of pride. Hearing this, Huyanjun's face stiffened. He really didn't expect that Zhu Zhuqing would be a Soul King, and a 10,000-year Soul King with 4 rings. Damn it, how could such a genius appear in Heavenly Star Academy? Even in the Golden Generation, only Hulina could compare to her. The other 2 were far from her. It seemed that Ollie and the others were really doomed today. The Snowy Knight Emperor's face also had a trace of surprise. He looked at Ning Fengji and asked, did Sect Master Ning already know that this contestant Zhu Zhuqing is also a Soul King, and a 10,000-year Soul King with 4 rings? Hearing this, Ning Fengji nodded gently and said, "This Ning knows a little about this contestant Zhu Zhuqing's strength. She is indeed a Soul King. In fact, she is a pair with Dragon King Palace's Hall Master Lu. I heard from my daughter that Hall Master Lu is also a Soul King, but his rank is a little high. He is a rank 58 Soul King." Rank 58 Soul King? Hearing Ning Fengji's words, the Snowy Night Emperor and Huyen Zhen's faces changed at the same time. The Snowy Night Emperor was shocked, and his thoughts of roping in Lu Yuan became even stronger. Huyen Zhen was horrified. Such a young rank 58 Soul King, this kind of talent was really a little scary. Oh no, Ollie and the others are finished. They really can't see any hope of winning. Huyen Zhen's face completely darkened. How is it? Are you scared by my Hall Master's rank? Douluo Bo smiled and pointed to the chair in front of him, saying, "I'll say it again. If your Elephant Armor Academy doesn't lose in a minute, I'll eat this chair on the spot." Hearing Douluo Bo's words, Huyen Zhen's face, which was originally ugly, became even uglier, as if he was constipated. Looking at Huyen Zhen's appearance, Douluo Bo couldn't help laughing once more. Huyen Zhen was left speechless, and he felt very comfortable in his heart. He turned around slightly and cast his gaze towards the arena. He still wanted to see the heroic performance of his palace master. On the stage, Lu Yuan still had his hands behind his back. Beside him, Zhu Zhuqing had already possessed her martial soul. 5 bright soul rings rippled beneath her body, and a powerful aura swept out. Huyen Li stared at Zhu Zhuqing's Soul King from across the two of them. His face was initially filled with astonishment, but he slowly recollected himself. His eyes were filled with an unprecedented seriousness. "Are you still not going to release your martial soul?" Although he was shocked by Zhu Zhuqing's strength as a Soul King, Huyen Li's gaze was still focused on Lu Yuan. Although Lu Yuan hadn't released his martial soul, the pressure he brought was even greater than Zhu Zhuqing's. Therefore, Huyen Li didn't dare to underestimate him. "There's no need to release your martial spirit." Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, "You can start now. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll play with you for a while. You'll regret it if you don't release your martial spirit." Huyen Li couldn't help but feel a tinge of anger in his heart after being looked down upon by Lu Yuan. No matter how strong Lu Yuan's aura was, he wanted to beat Lu Yuan up. "Brothers, let's go," Huyen Li ordered. The 7 contestants from the Elephant Armor sect lined up in a row and moved towards Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing at the same time. Their bodies were already very strong. When the 7 of them lined up in a row, they were like 7 mountains of meat. They took up almost half of the circular arena's diameter, and the visual effect was a little shocking. "Haha, interesting. Zhuqing, wait for me to break them up before you make your move," Lu Yuan said softly as he looked at Zhu Zhuqing. "Okay, got it." Zhu Zhuqing nodded slightly, and her cold voice rang out. "Then let's go." Lu Yuan chuckled. He took a slight step forward, and a cracking sound could be heard. Cracks spread out like a spider web from where his foot landed. Lu Yuan's figure flew out and appeared in front of Huyen Li and the rest in an instant. "Hey everyone, look over here." Lu Yuan chuckled and executed the dragon swimming step. His body turned into a series of afterimages as he kicked 6 times at the row of mountains of meat. "Brothers, immovable mountains!" Huyen Li shouted. The 7 of them stepped on the ground at the same time and lowered their bodies. They adjusted their center of gravity and stabilized their lower bodies. Each of them weighed at least 300 pounds, and each of them had lowered their center of gravity. In addition, they were already very strong, so it would be very difficult to shake them. However, it was useless. Before Huyen Li could react, the 6 remaining contestants from the Elephant Armor sect were sent flying by Lu Yuan's 6 light kick. The so-called immovable mountains was useless. Where are they? Huyen Li was stunned when he did not feel the attack that he expected. When he turned around, there was no one beside him. They're here. As soon as his voice fell, Lu Yuan's figure suddenly appeared in front of Hu Yanli. Just as Hu Yanli was about to make a move, a fist lightly landed on his body. Hu Yanli's body, which weighed more than 150 kilograms, was immediately sent flying and landed with his companions. TSK, what a slow reaction. Lu Yuan shook his head as he looked at the 7 contestants who were trying to get up. The Diamond Mammoth's defense was not bad, but their reaction was really slow. If he really wanted to win, he could use the dragon swimming steps and kick them out of the arena with 7 kicks. However, it would be too boring to win that way. Today's match was just a show. Hence, it was better to play for a longer time. Why aren't you standing up? Is it comfortable lying on the ground? Lu Yuan paused and looked at Hu Yanli and the others lying on the ground, smiling faintly. Humph! Hu Yanli and the rest stood up hurriedly. Their first and second soul rings lit up at the same time. Their martial souls were the same, and their soul skills were the same. Their first soul skill increased their defense, while their second soul skill increased their strength. After all, they were easily sent flying by Lu Yuan, which made them realize that Lu Yuan was very strong. Therefore, they immediately used their soul skills as soon as they came up. Now this is interesting. Lu Yuan smiled. He was still calm as he watched the 7 contestants from the Elephant Armor Academy activate their soul skills. He even had the time to comment. He looked very relaxed. It was as if he was not here to compete but to play. Chapter 583. The difference is still too great. Lu Yuan is here to play. Hu Wushuang couldn't help but shake her head and sigh as she watched Lu Yuan easily send Hu Yanli and the others flying. His strength has long since surpassed our imaginations. Although that move just now was short, the speed and strength Lu Yuan displayed were shocking. Those people from the Weevil Academy weighed at least 300 pounds, yet he easily sent them flying at the same time. This strength is truly frightening. Shui Binger spoke softly with a trace of melancholy in her icy blue eyes. Lu Yuan was too strong. He was so strong that she couldn't even muster up any desire to fight. She originally thought that there would be a limit to how strong Lu Yuan was, but now it seemed that the tip of the iceberg was enough to cause her to lose a great deal of confidence. Yes, my Prince Charming is truly too strong. Shui Yuer spoke softly, her sapphire-like eyes sparkling with sparkling light. AI, the Weevil Academy is bound to lose. Now we'll just have to see how much strength they can force out of Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing. Feng Xiaotian sighed softly. Yes, let's continue watching. Hu Wushuang sighed and turned her gaze back to the stage. The 4 of you go deal with Zhu Zhuqing. The 2 of you come with me. We'll deal with Lu Yuan together. On the stage, Hu Yanli let out a loud shout as he led the 2 soul ancestors from Team Weathered Armor to surround Lu Yuan. The other 4 soul exalts charged towards Zhu Zhuqing. Lu Yuan didn't have the slightest reaction to Hu Yanli's arrangement. It was basically impossible for 4 soul elders to deal with Zhu Zhuqing. One had to know that Zhu Zhuqing wasn't an ordinary soul king. With Zhu Qing's astonishing speed, the 4 soul exalts were going to become live targets for her. As for himself, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile when he looked at Hu Yanli and the other 2 soul ancestors. Then he'd play with these 3 fellows in front of him. Go! Hu Yanli called out. Along with the other 2 soul ancestors, he surrounded Lu Yuan from 3 different directions. Swaying his enormous body, he threw himself at Lu Yuan at the same time. What? Do you want to hit me? Seeing the 3 of them charging at him from 3 different directions, Lu Yuan instantly understood what they were thinking. They were trying to squeeze him like a sandwich from 3 directions. With their terrifying height and weight, if an ordinary person were to be squeezed like this, the huge pressure that would follow would be enough to make him lose his ability to fight, not to mention whether he would be injured or not. After all, the force of this impact was definitely not weak. But Lu Yuan didn't seem to care at all. Instead, he looked in Zhu Zhuqing's direction. For soul exalts were using the same method to attack Zhu Zhuqing. Should I say, as expected of a team? Do they all fight in the same way? But such a small trick wouldn't be of any use against Zhu Zhuqing. Coming back to his senses, Lu Yuan looked at the three people charging at him. He smiled faintly and said, "Come, let me see how strong you are." A golden light flashed from his body as the golden dragon armor covered his entire body. The dazzling golden armor sparkled with a resplendent radiance that made it hard for people to open their eyes. The armor was densely covered with fiery red and icy blue cloud patterns, making the golden armor even more gorgeous. On his back, a blood-red cloak fluttered in the wind. The dazzling golden armor paired with the blood-red cloak instantly made the already extraordinarily charming Lu Yuan even more handsome. If the original immortal-like temperament was more ethereal and confident, then the current Lu Yuan was more like a god of war with a heroic and masculine aura. Many of the female spectators' eyes lit up as they looked at Lu Yuan with a green light in their eyes. They looked as if they wanted to swallow him into their stomachs. Prince Charming is so handsome. In the spectator area, Shui Yuer clasped her hands in front of her chest as she looked at Lu Yuan in his armor. Her big eyes seemed to melt as she looked at Lu Yuan. Her cherry lips were slightly opened as if she was mumbling to herself. He is indeed very handsome. This time, Shui Bing-er didn't refute Shui Yuer's point of view. Instead, she nodded in agreement because Lu Yuan was indeed very handsome. Cough cough, he is indeed very handsome. But shouldn't we pay more attention to his armor? If I'm not wrong, that should be the legendary external soul bone. Feng Xiaotian coughed and said, "It is indeed an external soul bone. We saw him use it when we were in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. However, 4 years have passed and his external soul bone has changed a lot." Hu Wushuang said, "It has changed a lot. It has obviously become stronger. This is the charm of an external soul bone. It can evolve as the owner improves, and it will never become outdated. Moreover, once it is completely integrated, it cannot be taken away. It is really a treasure. I really don't know where Lu Yuan got it. His luck is really good." Feng Xiaotian said with a trace of envy in his voice. "Yes, I am so envious." Hu Wushuang also sighed softly. He looked at Lu Yuan's golden dragon armor without blinking. He also wanted such a treasure. In the arena, Hu Yanli and the other two were also stunned by the sudden appearance of the golden dragon armor. However, they didn't stop. The three of them ran, and their huge bodies crashed into Lu Yuan with heavy force. Dong! 3 terrifying mountains of flesh surrounded Lu Yuan. The three of them were huge. After they surrounded Lu Yuan's body couldn't be seen anymore. Ah! In the waiting area, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but exclaim when she saw this scene. "Will Obuchi be okay?" There was a trace of anxiety in her voice. Even though she knew how strong Lu Yuan was, she still couldn't help but worry when faced with such a situation. This was called worrying too much. He'll be fine. This bit of strength isn't even enough to tickle him. Wang Qiu'er looked at the scene in the arena and said nonchalantly. Although she was also very concerned about Lu Yuan, she knew how terrifying the golden dragon martial soul was. The strength of a body tempered by such a martial soul was beyond imagination. Lu Yuan's physique had already reached a terrifying level. He wasn't inferior to an ordinary titled Douluo. In fact, he was even slightly stronger. After all, the Titan giant ape's 100,000-year soul ring was no joke. The truth was just as Wang Qiu'er had said. Lu Yuan was completely fine. As he looked at the 3 mountains of flesh on his body, Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Is that it? Use more strength. I can still do it." Chapter 584. Hu Yanli roared when he heard Lu Yuan's words. The muscles on his body bulged, and he stomped on the ground with his thick legs. His huge body pressed down on Lu Yuan with immense strength. The other two soul ancestors did the same. Exerting all the strength in their bodies, the three of them pressed down on Lu Yuan's body with all their might. Interesting. Huyen Li and the other two were exerting their full strength to squeeze out the pressure. The combined strength of the three of them was probably more than 10,000 jin. 5,000 kilograms of strength wasn't considered small, but that was only for Lu Yuan. Generally speaking, Soul Emperors might not even have the strength of 5,000 kilograms, unless they were the type that specialized in strength. Zhao Wuji was a Soul Sage, but he didn't even have 40,000 kilograms of strength. He was a Strength type, Assault type Soul Sage. Huyen Li and the other two's combined strength was more than 5,000 kilograms. This number was actually not bad. In the entire Heaven Do district, apart from Lu Yuan, only Wang Qiu'er could exert more than 5,000 kilograms of strength. After all, she had the Golden Dragon martial soul, and strength was her forte. Of course, strength wasn't the same as actual strength. However, great strength was also a terrifying weapon against enemies. For example, if Huo Wushuang or Feng Xiaotian were in the middle of Huyen Li and the other two, they would have lost their ability to fight. However, this was useless against Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan didn't feel anything when the 5,000 kilograms of strength pressed down on Lu Yuan's body. Is this all you've got? Lu Yuan shook his head as he looked at the three muscular men squeezing him. He said, "If this is all you've got, then I'm going to make a move." As he spoke, Lu Yuan's body trembled slightly. A tremendous force was released from Lu Yuan's body, and Huyen Li and the other two's mountain-like bodies were sent flying. Lu Yuan took a step forward and appeared in front of the other two soul ancestors in an instant. Two kicks landed on their bodies in quick succession. The two soul ancestors groaned as blood flowed out from their mouth. A light kick had broken through their defenses, which had been strengthened by their soul power, and injured them. The Diamond Mammoth's defenses were extremely strong. Very few soul masters of the same rank could break through their defenses. However, their defenses were like paper to Lu Yuan. He could easily pierce through them. The two's bodies crashed heavily onto the arena's floor. Lu Yuan didn't show any mercy because he was putting on an act. Otherwise, he would be exposed. Furthermore, he had already compensated them. Huyen Li's eyes turned red when he saw that the other two soul ancestors had been injured. He was an impulsive person. Now that his teammates were lying on the ground, he was completely enraged. His eyes were red, and he charged towards Lu Yuan without hesitation. His third soul ring lit up, and he leapt into the air like a mountain of flesh. His body flickered with a layer of purple light as he pressed down on Lu Yuan. It was his third soul skill, Crushing Kill. Lu Yuan was about to take a step forward when he was faced with Huyen Li's soul skill. However, he suddenly realized that he couldn't move his legs. It turned out that Crushing Kill was a soul skill that the Elephant Armor sect had researched for a long time. Once the opponent was locked on, their legs would be temporarily immobilized. They could only choose to resist. This skill was specially used to deal with agility-type soul masters who were fast. Lu Yuan immediately understood what was going on when he felt that his legs were immobilized. This type of locking was similar to another type of control. If Lu Yuan had activated his Golden Dragon War Body, he would have been immune to it. However, he couldn't even use his martial soul right now, so he was being controlled. Lu Yuan didn't care that he was being controlled. However, this will be troublesome for Zhu Qing. She's an agility-type soul master and isn't very strong. I have to remind her. Lu Yuan muttered to himself. His lips moved slightly as he forced his voice into a line and transmitted it to Zhu Qing, who was not far away. After receiving Lu Yuan's reminder, Zhu Qing increased her speed once again. Her body turned into a series of afterimages so that they couldn't lock on to her. At the same time, she unleashed her Nether Shadow Doppelganger along with her Netherworld Soul-Breaking Claw. 6 afterimages surrounded the 3 soul elders from the elephant armor sect and beat them up. Under Zhu Zhuqing's netherworld soul destroyer claw, the diamond mammoth's defense was strong, but it was useless. Blood splattered everywhere with a single claw. Zhu Zhuqing showed no mercy at all. Her claws were stained with blood, and Lu Yuan felt his scalp tingle. Although the elephant armor sect's disciples only suffered superficial injuries, they were still in a terrible state. Hu Yanjun furrowed his brows from time to time as he watched from the VIP seats. He wanted to vent his anger, but he had to take into account Douluo and the Dragon King Hall's power into consideration. In the end, he decided not to look at Zhu Zhuqing's battle. Instead, he looked at Lu Yuan's battle. That was what he was more concerned about. After all, his grandson, Hu Yanli, was fighting Lu Yuan. On Lu Yuan's side, Hu Yanli leapt high into the air. His tall and heavy body descended from the sky. Coupled with Hu Yanli's innate soul power, the force of this move was even greater than the force of Hu Yanli and the other two. Die! Hu Yanli roared as he came crashing down on Lu Yuan. He wanted to flatten Lu Yuan this time. Die! Faced with Hu Yanli's terrifying attack that was descending from the sky, Lu Yuan gently extended his right hand. With a spread of his 5 fingers, he caught Hu Yanli's body and lifted him high up into the air. As for the terrifying power that came with it, it seemed to have no effect at all. Even the arena beneath Lu Yuan's feet was still intact. The terrifying force brought about by Hu Yanli's descent from the sky had been completely neutralized by Lu Yuan, without even the slightest ripple. "Oh, you're quite heavy. I'm afraid you're close to 250 kilograms. Lu Yuan commented casually as he lifted Hu Yanli up. "You, let go of me." Hu Yanli struggled in Lu Yuan's hands, but it was to no avail. Lu Yuan's hands seemed to have taken root in his clothes. They didn't move at all. "Ali!" Hu Yanjun couldn't help but exclaim when he saw this. He stood up abruptly with a worried expression on his face. "Don't worry, old elephant. Your grandson is fine, isn't he?" Douluo smiled faintly. Then, he changed his tone and said, "Of course, I don't know if anything will happen to him later. Old poison, you." Hu Yanjun's heart slowly calmed down when he heard Douluo's words and saw that Hu Yanli wasn't injured. However, Douluo's change in tone almost angered him to death. "Douluo, this old bastard is really hateful." Chapter 585. How King strong is he? Huddingly, who is so big, fell from the sky and was caught by him so easily? Feng Xiaotian could not help but ridicule when he saw Lu Yuan lift Hu Yanli up with a single hand. His casual manner caused Feng Xiaotian to ridicule him. "Anyway, it's very big." Hu Wushuang spread out his hands and said, "He doesn't plan to fight at all, he's just playing." At this time, Hu Wu, who had been silent all this time, said. Hu Wu's face was very calm, so calm that not a single ripple could be seen. This was very different from her usual fiery temper. "Sister, are you okay?" Hu Wushuang asked. "I'm fine." Hu Wu gently shook her head and said, "Sister, why don't we forfeit the match with the Heavenly Star Academy? Since we can't win, there's no need for you to fight with Lu Yuan. He's an abnormal monster. You see, Huddingly and the others are like toys in his hands. Even if it's us, we won't be any better. You don't have any hope of winning." Hu Wushuang said. "I know." Hu Wu nodded and said, "I don't plan to win at all. I just want to fight with the strongest of the younger generation and see how big the gap is between us." "Okay then." Hearing this, Hu Wushuang slightly nodded. He wasn't afraid of losing, but he was afraid that his sister's confidence would be damaged. After all, her desire to win was very strong. If she was beaten too badly by Lu Yuan, he was afraid that his sister would collapse. But now, it seemed that his sister's mentality had changed a lot. So, even if she lost, it wouldn't have any effect. The huge stone in Hu Wushuang's heart was finally put down. Sister Huowu. Hearing Huowu's words, Feng Xiaotian couldn't help but whisper. Even Huowu had the confidence to face Lu Yuan. Even if she lost, she didn't care. Instead, it was him, a big man, who actually had a shadow in his heart and didn't dare to fight with Lu Yuan. Thinking about it, it seems that he was not even as good as Yu Tianxin, although this guy did not have any self-awareness, but he did not lack courage, although he lost miserably, but at least he still fought with the Heavenly Star Academy. Feng Xiaotian secretly decided that he would forget about the preliminaries, but he would definitely fight with Lu Yuan in the promotion round. He wanted to prove that he, Feng Xiaotian, was not inferior to anyone. Even if he lost the battle, he wouldn't lose the battle. This was Feng Xiaotian's last bit of stubbornness. Looking at Lu Yuan on the stage, Feng Xiaotian's eyes shone brightly. This man is really strong. However, I'm not weak either. Lu Yuan, I'm waiting to fight with you. Feng Xiaotian thought to himself. Lu Yuan, let go of me. Hu Yanli was still struggling, but it was still useless. Lu Yuan just held him up, and his right hand did not tremble at all. Let go of the captain. The other two injured soul ancestors from the Elephant Armor Academy stood up from the ground. Looking at Hu Yanli and Lu Yuan's hand, they shouted at the same time. Their bodies shone with a purple light as they directly pounced on Hu Yanli. Third soul skill, crushing kill. Two huge mountains of flesh pressed down on Lu Yuan. This is none of your business. Get lost. Lu Yuan threw Hu Yanli up with his right hand, then stretched out his right hand, grabbed Hu Yanli's ankle, and swung him towards the two people pressing down on him. Watch my human sledgehammer. Lu Yuan smiled slightly, and directly used Hu Yanli as a weapon, smashing him towards the two soul ancestors from the Elephant Armor Academy. No, Ollie! Hu Yanzhen exclaimed. Even if the other two soul ancestors from the Elephant Armor Academy were hit, they would be fine. At most, they would be injured, and would be fine after a few days of rest. But at this moment, Hu Yanli's head was directly smashing towards the two soul ancestors. The head was the most important part of the human body, and it couldn't be damaged in the slightest. Therefore, Hu Yanzhen immediately panicked. His lips moved slightly, and he spat out two words. Old elephant, you're cheating. Douluo chuckled. Hu Yanzhen glanced at Douluo, and then ignored him. Instead, he looked at the battle between Hu Yanli and Hu Yanzhen with a worried expression. After being reminded by Hu Yanzhen, Hu Yanli's head suddenly shone brightly. The earthy yellow light transformed into a helmet that covered Hu Yanli's entire head. It was the skull that Hu Yanli had obtained. Boom! Just as the earthy yellow helmet was released, Hu Yanli collided with the two soul ancestors from the sky. Immediately, the two soul ancestors' huge bodies were sent flying, and blood gushed out of their mouth. This time, they had suffered internal injuries. Although Hu Yanli had the protection of the helmet, he wasn't completely unharmed. His eyes were blank and his head was dizzy. He was held in Lu Yuan's hand without moving at all. Lu Yuan casually flung Hu Yanli to the ground. Hu Yanli shook his head for a while before he recovered. When he thought about what Lu Yuan had done, his fourth soul ring lit up and his skin changed again. His entire body was covered with a layer of icicles. He looked at Lu Yuan with a fierce look in his eyes. What? You still want to come at me, stupid elephant? Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. What are you looking at? Do you believe that I won't break your helmet if you keep looking? Seeing Hu Yanli's fierce eyes staring at him, Lu Yuan couldn't help but glare at Hu Yanli and say loudly. After being glared at by Lu Yuan, Hu Yanli's gaze became even more fierce. He had a temperamental personality, and with the addition of Lu Yuan's provocation, he had gradually lost his rationality and entered a half-crazy state. In this state, he didn't know what fear was. Roar! Hu Yanli roared and pounced towards Lu Yuan. It seems like you've turned a deaf ear to my words. Alright, then watch how I break your helmet. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Yuan's figure flashed and appeared in front of Hu Yanli. He clenched his right hand, and an enormous force burst forth. Immediately, the icicles that covered Hu Yanli's body because of his fourth soul skill shattered. Lu Yuan grabbed Hu Yanli's shoulder with his left hand and released his strength. Immediately, Hu Yanli couldn't move. Lu Yuan clenched his right hand into a fist and punched Hu Yanli's head. Immediately, the sturdy-looking earthen yellow helmet shattered under Lu Yuan's enormous strength. He gently swung his left hand and threw Hu Yanli off the stage. Following that, he kicked the other two soul ancestors off the stage. Once he was done, Lu Yuan clapped his hands and nodded to Zhu Zhuqing, who had already taken down two soul exalts, before speaking in a calm voice. Zhuqing, stop playing. You can call it a day. As soon as Lu Yuan's voice sounded, Zhu Zhuqing sped up. She didn't hide anymore and used her claws to beat up the remaining two soul elders from the elephant armor sect. Zhu Zhuqing kicked out a few times and sent the disciples of the elephant armor sect off the stage. Chapter 586. The match is over. The Heavenly Star Academy team wins. Lu Yuan had just sent the members of the Wangjia Academy team off the stage when the host's voice suddenly sounded. Heavenly Star! Heavenly Star! Emperor Dragon! Zhu Zhuqing. At the end of the match, the audience couldn't help but cheer in unison. In this match, they finally saw the true strength of the Heavenly Star Academy team. Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing teamed up and easily pressed the entire Wangjia Academy team to the ground and beat them up. There were no dazzling skills, just ordinary attack. With a few punches and kicks, they treated the entire Wangjia Academy team as toys and played with them at will. Lu Yuan's strength was unfathomable. He had only shown the tip of the iceberg, but it had already shocked the audience. In particular, the figure of the god of war in the golden dragon armor made many of the audience gasp in amazement. For a time, he had gained countless fans. Zhu Zhuqing was the same. She was beautiful to begin with. She had a cold face and an extremely hot figure. Such a beauty would easily attract the attention of others. Coupled with the fact that Zhu Zhuqing had displayed her strength as a soul king and possessed 5 soul rings that exceeded the optimal combination of soul rings, the support that Zhu Zhuqing received from the audience today wasn't any less than Lu Yuan's. Zhuqing, how does it feel to be cheered and supported by the audience? Lu Yuan asked softly, looking at Zhu Zhuqing beside him. It's okay, I'm just a little not used to it. Zhu Zhuqing's cold voice sounded. And hearing this, Lu Yuan nodded gently, indicating that he understood. After all, Zhu Zhuqing had a quiet nature and was easily shy. This was the first time she encountered such a scene of being cheered by thousands of people, so it was normal for her to be a little unaccustomed. What about you? You don't seem to feel anything at all. Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but ask. I'm used to this, so I've long been immune to it. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Along the way, he had been in the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena for a month and the Soto Great Soul Arena for almost a year. He had seen many such scenes, so there was no fluctuation in his heart at all. Moreover, he was the center of attention wherever he went. He was already used to being the center of attention. After listening to Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but roll her eyes at Lu Yuan. It was clearly these words, but why did it feel like Lu Yuan was showing off? Let's go. Nodding to Zhu Zhuqing, the two of them walked down the stage together. Allez. Not only had the Weaver Academy lost, but Hu Yanli's helmet had also been shattered by Lu Yuan. Hu Yanli couldn't take it anymore. He released his soul force, and a powerful aura filled the air. What's wrong, old stupid elephant? You want to throw a tantrum after losing? Who do you want to throw a tantrum at? Looking for our hall master? Douluo chuckled and said, None of those who find trouble with our hall master have a good ending. Don't forget about Sokka's. After hearing this, Sokka's face immediately turned black. On the other hand, Hu Yanzhen paused. Dogubo was right. Lu Yuan was the hall master of the Dragon King Hall. He had the protection of a transcendent Douluo. With just a few moves, he would be courting death if he went up against him. Furthermore, there was the Dragon Emperor Douluo. He was a ruthless person who could hang Sokka's up and beat him up. After beating him up, the Martial Soul Palace didn't do anything. That was impressive. Therefore, after thinking about it, he suppressed the impulse in his heart. Furthermore, the arena competition was fair. If they lost, they could only blame Hu Yanli and the others for being inferior. He really couldn't find a reason to make a move. After sighing in his heart, Hu Yanzhen said, "Everyone, please take a seat. I'll go and check on Ollie and the others' injuries." After speaking, Hu Yanzhen's figure flashed, and he disappeared from the VIP seat. TSK. Looks like this old dumb elephant knows what's good for him, unlike you, Sokka's. You've been beaten up so badly. Boss is such a pighead. Dogubo winked at Sokka's, his old face smiling like a chrysanthemum. After being ridiculed by Dogubo, Sokka's clenched his fists. If Lu Yuan had wanted him to pretend to be angry after the Lejia Academy team lost, there was no need to pretend now. Dogubo's poisonous tongue had successfully ignited his anger. The only thing Sokka's wanted to do now was to pin Dogubo to the ground and give him a good beating. However, Sokka seemed to suddenly think of something. He looked at Dogubo with a cold smile on his face. "I heard that Elder Dogu said before the competition that if the Lejia Academy team didn't lose in a minute, you would eat this chair?" Sokka's pointed at the chair in front of him and said, "If I'm not wrong, the duration of the competition was 2 minutes. So, Elder Dogu, please? I'll be the witness of you eating this chair." Hearing this, Dogubo's old face stiffened. How could he have forgotten this? He was dead meat this time. Looking at the chair in front of him, Dogubo's face darkened. His old face pulled a long face. "Oh Lord, you're cheating me. This could have been settled in a few seconds, but you had to drag it out to 2 minutes? I've really been tricked by you this time. This old man doesn't have such good teeth." Looking at the chair made of wood and metal, Dogubo wanted to cry but had no tears. "Elder Dogu, why is your mouth so swollen?" In the Dragon King Hall, Lu Yuan and the others were sitting in the pavilion drinking tea. Suddenly, seeing Dogubo's swollen cheeks, Lu Yuan asked in confusion. Hearing this, Dogubo remained silent. He held his cheeks and sat down opposite Lu Yuan. Dogu Yen stood by his side. "Yanzi, what's wrong with your grandfather?" Lu Yuan looked at Dogu Yen with confusion. Not only that, but even Zhu Zhuqing, Wang Qiu'er and Ning Rongrong, who were sitting beside Lu Yuan, were also staring at Dogu Yen curiously. "This," Dogu Yen muttered to herself for a moment, and then explained the whole matter from beginning to end. Hearing this, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. The girls also covered their mouths and laughed. "So, Elder Dogu, you really ate it?" Lu Yuan asked with a smile. "Of course. I'll do what I say," Dogubo said with determination. "You ate the entire chair?" Lu Yuan looked at Dogubo in shock. "No, I only ate 2 mouthfuls and my teeth fell out. Lord, please help me." Dogubo held his cheeks and looked like he was in pain. Hearing this, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile and shake his head. White light flickered in his hand and wrapped around Dogubo's wound. Very soon, Dogubo's swollen wound was completely healed. "Elder Dogu, don't talk nonsense in the future," Lu Yuan chuckled. Hearing this, Dogubo couldn't help but glance at Lu Yuan. There was a hint of bitterness in his expression. Chapter 587. The qualifiers continued, but the Heavenly Star Academy team was very bored these days. Thanks to Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing's work, the other teams were shocked by the strength of the Heavenly Star Academy team. Every team chose to forfeit when they met the Heavenly Star Academy team. For 4 consecutive days, they won without a fight. One of the matches was against the God Wind Academy, but like the other teams, the God Wind Academy's Feng Xiaotian chose to forfeit. Many teams seemed to have reached a consensus that there was no need to fight the Heavenly Star Academy team in the qualifiers, so they all chose to withdraw. Today it was Saturday again. In the Dragon King Hall, a few girls sat together, staring at each other. What's wrong? You're all sitting here without saying a word. Are you all very free? In the room, Lu Yuan, who had just finished crafting a soul tool, walked out and saw Zhu Zhuqing, Wang Qiu'er, and the other three sitting across from each other. He couldn't help but ask. Very free, I don't know what to do. Douluo Yan's voice sounded. Yes, and we haven't competed for 4 consecutive days. It's quite boring. Ning Rongrong said. If you're free, you can go out for a stroll. Let Sister Xiaotao accompany you and protect you. Don't always stay at home. Besides, don't you girls like to go shopping? Lu Yuan said. We've already been shopping for 3 days. We've already explored the entire Heavendo city. Wang Qiu'er said faintly. Okay, then I can't do anything. Hearing Wang Qiu'er's words, Lu Yuan spread his hands and said helplessly. You must be tired after crafting a soul tool. Look at you, your head is covered in sweat. Zhu Zhuqing said softly. She stood up, took out a handkerchief, and wiped the sweat off Lu Yuan's forehead. My Zhuqing is indeed the most considerate. After Zhu Zhuqing wiped off the sweat on her forehead, Lu Yuan grabbed her hand and said softly, Don't worry, I'll be fine. Pay attention, there are others. Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Lu Yuan and said softly. Haha. Lu Yuan chortled and didn't say anything else. He held Zhu Zhuqing's hand and sat down beside Wang Qiu'er. Little Qiu'er hasn't played in the past 2 days. Are you bored? Lu Yuan asked softly as he pinched Wang Qiu'er's cheeks. Yes, I'm really bored. Furthermore, brother doesn't play with me. I'm so bored, Wang Qiu'er said in a coquettish voice. I'm busy. However, I haven't forgotten about Qiu'er. This time, I've specially prepared a gift for Qiu'er. Lu Yuan smiled as he spoke. What gift? Wang Qiu'er opened her eyes wide when she heard that there was a gift. Her eyes were filled with curiosity. Lu Yuan laughed as he said, A soul tool. Elder brother has specially made a soul tool for Qiu'er. Really? When she heard Lu Yuan's words, Wang Qiu'er's eyes immediately brightened. Her elder brother had tailor-made it for her. Wang Qiu'er was delighted, and her face was full of smiles. Of course it's true. When have I ever lied to you, Qiu'er? Lu Yuan chuckled as he spoke. Let's go. This place is too small. I'll bring you to see this soul tool that I've specially made for you. Lu Yuan stood up and smiled at Wang Qiu'er. Okay. Wang Qiu'er nodded her head forcefully. After that, she stood up and grabbed Lu Yuan's hand. You've just sat down and you haven't even had a sip of tea. Why are you going out again? You should rest first. Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but speak when she saw that Lu Yuan was about to leave again. There was a tinge of concern in her voice. It's fine. I'm not tired. Let's go together. You guys have a share too. Lu Yuan smiled gently at Zhu Zhuqing as his gentle voice rang out. We have a share too? When they heard Lu Yuan's words, Douluo Yan and Ning Rongrong couldn't help but point at themselves. There was a tinge of astonishment on their faces. In a spacious plaza in the Soul Tool Hall, as he looked at the few girls in front of him, Lu Yuan smiled. He waved his hand gently, and a bright golden spear that was about 3 meters long appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. The design of this spear wasn't very extravagant. Instead, it had a low-key and luxurious feel to it. The golden spear was covered with fiery red demonic patterns. The entire spear was a single entity, and there were no signs that it was connected. As he held the spear, he could feel a faint warmth. If he felt it carefully, he could feel that there seemed to be energy surging within it. It was exceptionally strange. Qiu'er, for you. Lu Yuan placed the spear horizontally in front of Wang Qiu'er. Brother, is this for me? Wang Qiu took the spear and caressed it lovingly. This spear wasn't light. It weighed more than 500 kilograms. If it were someone else, they wouldn't be able to use it. However, it was just right for Wang Qiu. Yes, this spear is made from scarlet gold, an extremely rare metal. There are a total of 108 formation arrays that operate together, and it's infused with the power of light and fire. It's a Class 7 soul tool, and it's also the pinnacle of my soul tool skills. Lu Yuan said softly. A Class 7 soul tool. Have you become a Class 7 soul engineer? After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but ask. Yes, I've had a sudden inspiration over the past few days. I accidentally broke through. Lu Yuan laughed. Accidentally? When she heard this, Zhu Zhuqing's mouth twitched. Why does it sound like he's showing off? Lu Yuan didn't know what Zhu Zhuqing was thinking. He looked at Wang Qiu and smiled warmly. He asked, Do you like it, Qiu? In fact, he had wanted to make a weapon for Wang Qiu for a long time. Wang Qiu also knew how to use a spear. Furthermore, she had learned a lot from Lu Yuan over the past few months. He needed the golden dragon spear for himself, and he couldn't give it to Wang Qiu. Therefore, he made this Class 7 soul tool as a gift for Wang Qiu. Speaking of which, a Class 7 soul tool was enough for Wang Qiu. Qiu likes it. Brother, what's the name of this spear? Wang Qiu caressed the spear in her hand. There was a look of delight in her eyes. After sizing it up, she lifted her head and looked at Lu Yuan. I haven't named it yet. Since it's made from scarlet gold, why don't we call it the Scarlet Gold Spear? When he heard Wang Qiu ask for his name, Lu Yuan scratched his head. In fact, he was bad at naming things. When he gave Chihiro Snow's sword, it was called the Holy Sword because it was infused with holy power. When he gave it to Ningrongrong, it contained the power of ice and fire, so it was called the Icefire Sword. Since this golden dragon spear was made from scarlet gold, he might as well name it the Scarlet Gold Spear. It was simple and crude. All right, we'll call it the Scarlet Gold Spear then. Wang Qiu held the spear and waved it twice. She was delighted as she spoke. Chapter 588. Yu Qing, this is yours. Lu Yuan smiled as he saw Wang Qiu looking at the spear happily. A light flashed in his hand, and a sword that was about 4 feet 3 inches long, 1 foot 2 inches long, and 4 inches wide appeared in his hand. This sword was completely blue, and the blade was as transparent and flawless as a sapphire. There was a faint, cold aura around the blade, and the hilt was also blue. There was a huge, pure sapphire embedded at the top of the hilt. There were golden demonic patterns carved on the hilt, and it looked very strange. The sword guard spread open like a phoenix's wings, and the blue-gold phoenix carvings made it look very noble and gorgeous. This sword was different from Wang Qiu's Scarlet Flame Spear. The Scarlet Flame Spear was low-key and luxurious, while this sword was noble and gorgeous. Although their styles were different, they both looked very pleasing to the eye. This was Lu Yuan's style. After all, he was obsessed with good looks, and his products were all very good-looking. Chihiro Snow's Holy Sword and Ning Rongrong's Icefire Sword were both very beautiful and exquisite. His reputation as someone who was obsessed with good looks wasn't just for show. However, when he thought about Qian Rinxue's Holy Sword, Lu Yuan remembered that this sword wasn't complete when it was first created. It could still be upgraded. It seemed like he had to find an opportunity to upgrade Qian Rinxue's Holy Sword to a Class 7 soul tool. Lu Yuan thought to himself. Lu Yuan came back to his senses after this thought, and continued to introduce the sword to Zhu Zhuqing. This sword is made from ice wave crystals, and it's very compatible with your 9 lives links. I've infused the power of extreme ice into it, and it's very strong. It's also a Class 7 soul tool. In terms of quality, this sword isn't inferior to Qiu's Scarlet Flame Spear. Is it also a Class 7 soul tool? Zhu Zhuqing asked softly as she received the sword. Yes, it is. Lu Yuan nodded and said. What's its name? Zhu Zhuqing asked. I haven't named it yet, but since it's made from ice wave crystals, why don't we call it the Ice Wave Sword? Lu Yuan suggested. No. Zhu Zhuqing shook her head and said, the Ice Billow Sword has no special characteristics. Why don't we call it the Clear Abyss Sword? Clear Abyss Sword? Zhu Zhuqing, Lu Yuan, do we have a character for each of our names? Hearing Zhu Zhuqing's words, Lu Yuan instantly understood the origin of this name. The corners of his mouth involuntarily curled, revealing a slight smile. On the other hand, Ning Rongrong and Duguyen immediately understood the meaning of the Clear Abyss Sword's name. They couldn't help but pout at the same time. F***ck, it's just a sword. He didn't expect that Zhu Zhuqing, who was always quiet, would be so good at showing off her public display of affection. Zhu Zhuqing examined the Clear Abyss Sword, while Lu Yuan turned to Duguyen and Ning Rongrong. With a wave of his hand, a long staff and a hair ornament appeared in his hands. This is a Class 6 soul tool, Poison Staff. I've soaked it in the toxins of many poisonous soul beasts. Its toxicity is astonishing. It's just right for you. I'll give it to you, Yanzi, Lu Yuan said. Thank you, Hall Master. Duguyen received the poison staff, and a smile that couldn't be erased surfaced on her face. You don't have to thank me. You deserve it. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said. In all fairness, Duguyen did deserve it. Putting aside his own good performance over the past few days, Douluo had contributed a lot to the Dragon King Hall. In particular, his advertisement was very good, and it immediately raised the popularity of the longevity pill and ageless pill. Therefore, Lu Yuan still had to express some appreciation for Douluo's contributions. Douluo didn't lack anything, so he could only express his appreciation to his granddaughter, Duguyen. Giving Duguyen a Class 6 soul tool, Poison Staff, could be considered Lu Yuan's reward for Douluo's contributions. Rong, this is yours. This hair accessory is actually a Class 6 defensive type soul tool. Your current Class 5 soul tool is a little inferior, so I'll give you a Class 6 one this time. In addition to the Class 6 defensive type soul tool that I gave you the other time, your safety will be guaranteed with 2 layers of defense. Lu Yuan smiled and handed the hair accessory to Ning Rongrong. Lu Yuan still felt a little apologetic that he had indirectly used Ning Rongrong to pass information to Ning Fengji last time. He decided to give Ning Rongrong a Class 6 soul tool this time. This way, he would feel much better. Obuchi, thank you. But can you help me put it on? Ning Rongrong thanked Lu Yuan first. After that, she looked at Lu Yuan with an expectant look on her face. Cough. About this, alright. After hesitating for a while, Lu Yuan still agreed. It was just a hair accessory. It wasn't anything embarrassing. If he wanted to help, then so be it. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ning Rongrong immediately smiled. Her sapphire-like eyes curved into beautiful crescents. Very quickly, Lu Yuan helped Ning Rongrong put on the hair accessory. Does it look good, Lu Yuan? Ning Rongrong blushed slightly as she asked softly. When Lu Yuan helped her put on the hair accessory earlier, she was a little intoxicated by his masculine scent. She really wanted to jump into Lu Yuan's arms. However, she restrained herself because of her current status. After all, Lu Yuan hadn't accepted her yet. However, she still wanted to get closer to Lu Yuan. That was why she couldn't help but ask this question. She wanted to gain Lu Yuan's appreciation and recognition. It looks good. It suits you very well. Lu Yuan nodded and directly spoke the truth. Ning Rongrong was indeed very beautiful. She wasn't much inferior to Zhu Zhuqing. It was just that her figure was a little lacking. After wearing the hair accessory, she looked even more beautiful. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but smile. That smile was very sweet. The next morning, Heaven-Do Imperial Palace. In front of Lu Yuan, Chihiro Snow, who was disguised as Shueqinghe, bowed to Lu Yuan and said in a warm voice, "Palace Lord Lu, please follow me. Father has been waiting for you for a long time." Lu Yuan first looked at the palace guards around him. Then, he retracted his gaze and stared straight at Chihiro Snow in front of him, carefully sizing him up. To be honest, he had never carefully looked at Chihiro Snow's appearance when he was disguised as Shueqinghe. As for appearance, although he couldn't be compared to Lu Yuan, he could still be considered handsome. Moreover, his temperament was gentle and refined. He gave people a feeling of being bathed in the spring breeze. Unconsciously, people would want to get close to him. From a woman's point of view, this kind of man should be the very charming type. Speaking of which, if Chihiro Snow went out to pick up girls with this face, he should be able to hook up with quite a few beauties. Lu Yuan secretly muttered in his heart while sizing him up. Seeing Lu Yuan staring at him with a strange expression, Chihiro Snow couldn't help but frown. His intuition told him that Lu Yuan was thinking of something bad. Therefore, when the palace guards weren't paying attention, Chihiro Snow fiercely glared at Lu Yuan. Chapter 589. After being glared at by Chihiro Snow, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. However, he didn't retract his gaze. Instead, he rolled his eyes and sized him up from head to toe. Cough, cough. Chihiro Snow coughed and said, "Hallmaster Lu, please follow me." As he spoke, he led the way. Qian Renxue was well aware of Lu Yuan's shameless nature. She didn't want to waste time with Lu Yuan here. No matter how she fought with this guy, she would be the one at a disadvantage in the end. Therefore, Qian Renxue decided not to take the bait and just left. However, this move was actually quite effective. As he watched Chihiro Snow lead the way, Lu Yuan could only call out to Chihiro Snow. After that, he followed behind Chihiro Snow. As he followed Chihiro Snow, they made many turns and crossed many palaces before they finally reached their destination. It had to be said that the Heaven-Do Imperial Palace was huge. It wasn't smaller than the Martial Soul Palace. Since it was a private meeting, he definitely wouldn't receive Lu Yuan in the main hall of the Imperial Palace. Instead, he received Lu Yuan in a pavilion in the Imperial Garden of the Imperial Palace. "Father, Palace Lord Lu is here." Qian Renxue bowed slightly to the Snow Knight Emperor and said softly, "Oh, Hallmaster Lu is here?" After hearing Chihiro Snow's words, the Snow Knight Emperor turned around slightly and stood up. Beside him, a middle-aged man also stood up. "Hallmaster Lu is young and talented. I've admired you for a long time. Today, I'm finally fortunate enough to meet you." The Snow Knight Emperor smiled faintly. "You're too kind. I've been friends with you for a long time. Today, I can see that you're indeed worthy of your reputation. You're full of the demeanor of an emperor." Lu Yuan said softly, "You lift me up and I lift you up. We're just using each other. It's just some pleasantries. Whoever believes it will lose." Everyone present was a shrewd person, and they could tell the truth and politeness in his words with just one listen. However, everyone pretended that they didn't hear it. After all, he was a high-level leader. Who didn't have some acting skills? Lu Yuan's gaze shifted and landed on Ning Fengji. "Uncle Ning is here too? Haha, Obuchi, your meeting with the great emperor is such a memorable scene. How can I not be there?" Ning Fengji laughed softly. Lu Yuan smiled and didn't comment. He knew what Ning Fengji was thinking. Ning Fengji wanted the alliance between the Dragon King Palace and the Heaven-Do Imperial Clan so that Ning Fengji could help the Heaven-Do Imperial Clan persuade Lu Yuan. After all, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect would benefit a lot from the alliance between the Dragon King Palace and the Imperial family. Ning Fengji was very cunning. Lu Yuan knew this very well. Therefore, he wasn't surprised that Ning Fengji was here. "Hallmaster Lu, please take a seat." The Snowy Knight Emperor pointed to the seat opposite him and laughed softly. Thank you, Emperor. Lu Yuan didn't decline and sat down. Long Xiaoyao stood behind Lu Yuan. Shui Yi and Ning Fengji also sat down when they saw Lu Yuan sit down. After the few of them sat down, servant girls immediately served tea and snacks. The Snowy Night Emperor looked at Long Xiaoyao before turning to Lu Yuan. He asked softly, "This must be the Dragon Emperor Douluo." "Yes, this is Elder Long," Lu Yuan nodded and replied. "The Dragon Emperor Douluo is indeed one of the most powerful individuals in the world. His aura is as deep as the abyss." The Snowy Night Emperor praised. "You're too kind, Emperor." Long Xiaoyao's voice sounded. "Qing He, prepare a seat for the Dragon Emperor Douluo." The Snowy Night Emperor instructed Chihiro Snow. "Yes, father." After hearing this, Chihiro Snow nodded and hurriedly arranged for the servant girls around to prepare a seat for Long Xiaoyao. "Take a seat, Elder Long," Lu Yuan said. "Yes, master." After receiving Lu Yuan's permission, Long Xiaoyao sat down. Isn't Elder Jian the one following Uncle Ning today? This elder is unusually tall. If I'm not wrong, this should be the Bone Douluo Elder Gu." Lu Yuan asked curiously as he looked at the 2.5-meter tall figure behind Ning Fengji. "Yes, it's Uncle Gu. Uncle Jian has something to do today, so Uncle Gu is accompanying me." Ning Fengji replied. "Oh, I see." Lu Yuan nodded and shifted his gaze away from the Bone Douluo. The Bone Douluo was a rank 95 transcendent Douluo. His abilities were decent, but he was much weaker than the Sword Douluo. Lu Yuan only paid attention to him because of his 2.5-meter tall figure. That was why he only looked at him casually before retracting his gaze. On the other hand, the Bone Douluo was sizing up Lu Yuan with interest. He seemed to be trying to see what kind of magic Lu Yuan had that could make Ning Rongrong so infatuated. Lu Yuan could naturally sense the Bone Douluo sizing him up. However, he didn't care. "Why didn't Elder Dugu come with Hallmaster Lu today?" the Snowy Night Emperor asked softly as he looked at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, "Elder Dugu didn't want to see anyone she knew these 2 days. She was afraid that it would be awkward." As soon as Lu Yuan said that, the Snowy Night Emperor and Ning Fengji immediately realized that it was because of the chair incident. Thinking about it, the two of them couldn't help but smile. "Emperor, I heard from Sect Master Ning that you wanted to meet me to discuss a collaboration?" Lu Yuan took a sip of tea. He didn't hide anything anymore. Instead, he went straight to the point. "Yes, what do you think, Hallmaster Lu?" Since Lu Yuan was so direct, the Snowy Night Emperor didn't bother with the pleasantries. He also went straight to the point. "Sect Master Ning has told me about this before. I don't have any objections to the collaboration. I just don't know what benefits the Dragon King Hall will get from supporting the Heaven Do imperial family," Lu Yuan said slowly. "Haha, Hallmaster Lu is really straight to the point." The Snowy Night Emperor chuckled when he heard Lu Yuan's words. "I've always been a straightforward person. I don't like to play around with empty words. After all, it's useless to talk about other unimportant things. These things are the most important," Lu Yuan said faintly. "Hallmaster Lu is right. In this world, benefits are the most important. Our collaboration is a win-win situation. As long as the Dragon King Hall is willing to support the Heaven Do imperial family, there will be many benefits. The Heaven Do imperial family is very sincere to our allies," the Snowy Night Emperor said. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and said, "Then I'd like to see how sincere you are." Chapter 590. Since Palace Master Lu has asked in such a manner, this Emperor will properly explain it to you. Mainly there are 3 points. Firstly, all transactions conducted within the Empire by the Dragon King Hall will be exempt from taxes. The Empire will not take a single cent of the profits, and all profits will belong to the Dragon King Hall. The Snowy Night Emperor took a sip of tea and said softly. Lu Yuan was slightly surprised when he heard this. Exempting the Dragon King Hall from all taxes in the Heaven Do Empire was quite a generous offer. One must know that the annual transaction volume of the Dragon King Palace was absolutely a terrifying figure. Furthermore, when the Dragon King Palace conducted transactions in various kingdoms and provinces, they had to pay a certain amount of taxes to the various kingdoms and provinces. This sum of money was definitely not a small amount. With the Snowy Night Emperor's offer, the Dragon King Hall would be exempt from all taxes within the Heaven Do Empire. This would save a huge sum of money every year. This was a very tempting offer. The Snowy Night Emperor smiled when he saw the surprise on Lu Yuan's face. He continued, "Secondly, the Empire will support all transactions conducted by the Dragon King Hall within the Empire in the future. We will give priority to all transactions within the Empire and waive all sorts of complicated processing fees. Furthermore, the Empire will officially promote the Dragon King Hall's product." Is this the second benefit? Lu Yuan stroked his chin gently. Although the Dragon King Hall was developing well and had even expanded its trade to the Xianra Empire, it was still developing rapidly in the Heaven Do Imperial City because it had only been established for a year and had yet to gain a stable footing. However, the Dragon King Hall was not developing as well in other places as in the Heaven Do Imperial City. According to the Snowy Night Emperor's offer, the Dragon King Hall's development would enter a period of rapid growth. This condition was even more tempting than the first one. Thirdly, it's in terms of honor. I have decided to bestow upon Palace Master Lu the title of Golden Dragon King. He will be a first-class king and will be ranked above all officials. He will be able to enter the palace with a sword and will not have to bow before the emperor. At the same time, he will be given 5,000 households and 30,000 hectares of fertile land. The Snowy Night Emperor threw out his third condition before Lu Yuan could speak. When this condition was mentioned, not only did Lu Yuan narrow his eyes, but even Ning Fengji and Xue Qinghe had a trace of surprise in their eyes. The title of Golden Dragon King was even more exalted than that of Ning Fengji's teacher. The titles of nobility in the empire, from top to bottom, were generally given to dukes, earls, marquises, viscounts, and males. Other than the royal family, the title of king was basically not given to anyone else. And now, the Snow Night Emperor had not only bestowed Lu Yuan with the title of prince, but it was also the highest rank of first-class prince. His position was a bit high. Although it was just a title without any actual authority, the significance of this title was very significant. Not to mention, there were also 5,000 households and 30,000 hectares of fertile land. This was not a small amount of wealth. Therefore, both Ning Fengji and Chihiro Snow were a little shocked. The Snowy Night Emperor was really bold. He had invested a lot to win over the Dragon King Palace. Interesting. The Emperor's conditions are quite tempting. Lu Yuan tapped his fingers on the table and said softly, "What do you think, Palace Master Lu? Are these 3 conditions sincere enough?" The Snowy Night Emperor asked. "Yes, they are sincere enough," Lu Yuan said indifferently. "What about the cooperation?" the Snowy Night Emperor asked. "The cooperation will be as you wish. From today onwards, the Dragon King Palace will fully support the Heaven Do imperial family. We will share weal and woe together," Lu Yuan said. "Good. Palace Master Lu is indeed a straightforward person." The Snowy Night Emperor was overjoyed when he heard Lu Yuan's words. His originally pale face seemed to have a few traces of redness. He clapped his hands lightly and a maid came up with a tray. There were 2 items on the tray. One was a square seal that was purple and gold in color. There were exquisite dragon carvings on the seal. The other item was a dazzling golden medallion. On one side of the medallion was a snow-white swan. This was the symbol of the Heaven Do imperial family. On the other side was a majestic golden dragon. It looked exactly like Lu Yuan's golden dragon. These 2 items are the Golden Dragon King's seal and medallion. They represent the Golden Dragon King's status. Please accept them, the Snowy Night Emperor said. Then it would be impolite to refuse. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Haha, Palace Master Lu. Oh no, I should call you Golden Dragon King now. This emperor has arranged a banquet in the shunned palace. Golden Dragon King and this emperor will sit down and chat while we eat. How about it? The Snowy Night Emperor was very happy that he had successfully reached an agreement with Lu Yuan. With the support of another superpower, the Heaven Dou imperial family was as stable as Mount Tai. Furthermore, with the support of the Dragon King Palace, which had 5 titled Soul Masters and even the limit Douluo Long Xiaoyao, the Snowy Night Emperor was no longer afraid of the martial Soul Palace. He was overjoyed and directly invited Lu Yuan to sit down. That would be great. Lu Yuan smiled. Golden Dragon King, please. The Snowy Night Emperor extended his hand. After you, Emperor. Lu Yuan smiled. Ha 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 ha. The Snowy Night Emperor laughed and walked in front. Lu Yuan smiled and followed behind the Snowy Night Emperor. Crown Prince's residence. Chihiro Snow's study. Lu Yuan lay in front of Chihiro Snow's desk and stared at Chihiro Snow. Why don't we go to your room? Chihiro Snow rolled his eyes at Lu Yuan and said, What do you want to do in my room in broad daylight? Lu Yuan blinked and said, Don't you know what I want to do? Chihiro Snow spat and said, Tui, pervert. All you think about is doing bad things. Lu Yuan spread his hands and pretended to be helpless as he said, Ah, I can't help it. My share is too beautiful. I can't help it. Chihiro Snow blushed when she heard this, but the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She was actually very happy that Lu Yuan was so infatuated with her. All right, stop fooling around. Let's talk about something serious. Chihiro Snow said with a serious expression. Talk about something serious? All right, go ahead. Lu Yuan stopped smiling when he heard Chihiro Snow's words. He sat up straight and his expression became serious. Speaking of which, Lu Yuan and Qian Renshue were quite similar. Both of them were the type who could be fooling around 1 second and immediately get into the mood to talk about work the next second. It was no wonder they were together. Obuchi, now that your Dragon King Palace has allied with the Heaven Dou imperial family, we can start our plan slowly. Chihiro Snow said. Chapter 591. After hearing Chihiro Snow's words, Lu Yuan couldn't help but frown as he said, Is there a need to be so hasty, Cher? Haste makes waste. It's still a little too early to make a move. If we act too hastily, it'll be easy to reveal our flaws and alert the enemy. Chihiro Snow glanced at Lu Yuan as he spoke softly. I didn't say that we should act now. I only said that we can start the plan slowly. Start slowly? Lu Yuan tapped his fingers on the table as he muttered to himself. Then tell me what you're thinking. Chihiro Snow nodded and said, You know that I'm currently in charge of the entire Heaven Dou Empire's political affairs, right? Yes. Lu Yuan nodded slightly and said, They all say that the Snowy Night Emperor's health is deteriorating, so the Crown Prince is temporarily in charge of political affairs. I'm aware of this. However, Cher, you're the one behind the Snowy Night Emperor's health, aren't you? Did you cause the poison in his body to slowly erupt in advance? That's why the Snowy Night Emperor's health is deteriorating. Cher, I have to give you a piece of advice. The Snowy Night Emperor can't die yet. At the very least, he can't die before you wipe out all the opposing voices in the imperial court. Otherwise, once he dies, those who oppose you will take the opportunity to retaliate. That will be quite a big problem. Furthermore, if the Snowy Night Emperor dies too suddenly, then you, as the #1 successor, will be the first person to be suspected. They will suspect that you killed your father in order to ascend to the throne. This will be very disadvantageous for you. As he spoke, Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow with a serious expression. I know that, so I don't plan to let the Snowy Night Emperor die right now. I'm just slowly drawing out the poison in the Snowy Night Emperor's body, so that his body will slowly deteriorate. When he dies, it will be a few years later. When he dies, everyone will only think that his body can't hold on anymore, and that's why he's slowly dying. No one will suspect me." In the face of Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow slowly explained. "I see." After listening to Qian Rinchue's explanation, Lu Yuan nodded slightly. If it had been a few years before he died, then it would not have attracted too much attention. After all, people would die eventually. It was just a matter of whether it was a strange death or a normal death. It made sense that the Snowy Night Emperor had dragged it on for a few years before he could no longer hold on. It seemed that he had underestimated Chihiro Snow. Chihiro Snow was still as cautious and considerate as ever. When she was doing this, she had already considered this problem. However, was Chihiro Snow doing this because he was slowly gaining confidence in controlling the entire Heaven Do Empire within a few years? Thinking about it, Lu Yuan raised his own question. "If I were alone, I wouldn't be confident. However, with the help of your Dragon King Palace and the cooperation of your Golden Dragon King, I'm confident that I'll be able to take complete control of the Heaven Do Empire in the next few years. Therefore, little Yuan, you'll have to help me from now on." Chihiro Snow winked as she spoke playfully to Lu Yuan. "My wife has already spoken. How can I not help? If you need anything, just let me know. I'll do it." Lu Yuan spread his hands and pretended to be helpless. "Hee, at least you have some conscience." Chihiro Snow rolled her eyes at Lu Yuan, but her face was full of smiles. "Cher, how is the situation in the imperial court now?" Lu Yuan asked. "The situation is not bad. Although there are officials who oppose me, there aren't many of them. However, there are many neutral parties. What I need to do now is to establish my authority in the imperial court and have everyone gradually acknowledge me. While I rope in the neutral parties, I will do my best to eliminate those officials who don't see eye to eye with me." Chihiro Snow said. "Yes." After hearing Chihiro Snow's words, Lu Yuan nodded and said, "What you are doing is not wrong. However, you have to be careful. Don't go overboard. That will have negative effects. If you really want to eliminate someone, you don't have to do it yourself to avoid arousing suspicion. You just have to tell me and I will help you arrange a reasonable death." "What do you mean by reasonable?" Chihiro Snow asked with a smile. "Reasonable means that they deserve to die. The kind that won't arouse suspicion. For example, when we pushed the blame to Avalanche in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, it was very reasonable," Lu Yuan said with a smile. Hearing this, Chihiro Snow and Lu Yuan couldn't help but look at each other. The two of them smiled at the same time. Back then, the two of them could be said to have cooperated quite well. Now, the tacit understanding between the two of them was still very good. Looking at Lu Yuan, Chihiro Snow's eyes were filled with gentleness. It was really easy to cooperate with this guy. There was no need to say anything. With just a look, he could understand what he meant. This feeling of being understood was really wonderful. Fortunately, there was still someone in the world who understood and supported him. Chihiro Snow thought to himself. Seeing that Chihiro Snow was staring at him without moving, Lu Yuan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and said with a smile, "What's wrong, Cher? Why are you staring at me like that? Are you mesmerized by my peerless beauty? Bah, you're narcissistic again." Hearing this, Chihiro Snow couldn't help but glare at Lu Yuan. This isn't narcissism. This is confidence. There's no other way. Who asked me to have such a handsome face?" Lu Yuan laughed. Seeing Lu Yuan's narcissistic appearance, Chihiro Snow couldn't help but shake his head. This guy's skin was really thick to a certain extent. It was simply impossible to pierce through it with a needle, impossible to be shaken by lightning. She really couldn't do anything about this guy. Looking at Lu Yuan, Qian Rinxue suddenly had a flash of inspiration as she remembered something. "Obuchi, there's something I forgot to tell you," Chihiro Snow said. Oh? What is it? Lu Yuan asked curiously. Do you still remember that Tang San you mentioned before? Chihiro Snow asked. Of course. What about him? Did something happen? Lu Yuan asked. He did. He's currently at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. He's the captain of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team. Chihiro Snow said. You're telling the truth? Hearing this, a trace of shock flashed across Lu Yuan's face. He didn't expect Tang San to be at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Moreover, he was the captain? This news was a bit interesting. But how did Tang San get into the Heaven Do Imperial Academy? He didn't have Qin Ming to introduce him to. Lu Yuan had some doubts in his heart, so he directly asked. The previous captain of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, Yu Tianheng, invited Tang San to join. Chihiro Snow's vermilion lips lightly parted as she revealed another piece of news that shocked Lu Yuan. Chapter 592. Yu Tianheng invited Tang San to join the Heaven Do Imperial Academy and even gave up his position as captain? This time, Lu Yuan was truly astonished. Chihiro Snow's short words contained a lot of information. First, Tang San had entered the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Second, Tang San and Yu Tianheng knew each other, and it was Yu Tianheng who pulled him into the academy. Third, Tang San was now the captain of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. These were the three most obvious pieces of information in Chihiro Snow's words, but if one thought about it carefully, they would be able to deduce even more. First, Yu Tianheng had lost his confidence and left the academy like a zombie. Now that he had returned, it meant that his confidence had been rebuilt. And the most important thing about rebuilding confidence was that his strength had increased. Strength was the basis for confidence, and it could be inferred that Yu Tianheng was much stronger than before. Secondly, even though Yu Tianheng's strength had increased, he still gave the captain's position to Tang San. This meant that he was not Tang San's opponent. From this, it could be seen that Tang San's strength should be even stronger. However, Tang San was only level 29 2 years ago, which was a far cry from Yu Tianheng. Therefore, it was very likely that Tang San had obtained a new opportunity in these 2 years. Or perhaps Tang San had cultivated twin martial souls, otherwise his strength wouldn't have increased so quickly. Third, since Tang San had entered the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, then Grandmaster Yu Tianheng must have also followed him. Thinking back to the Thunder Academy's 4-in-1 fusion technique and Yu Tianxin's blind confidence, it was very likely that Grandmaster Yu Tianheng had taught the 4-in-1 fusion technique. After all, Grandmaster Yu Tianheng had created a 7-in-1 fusion technique in the original novel. However, Grandmaster Yu Tianheng might have been hiding something, which was why he only taught the 4-in-1 fusion technique. Perhaps Grandmaster Yu Tianheng's goal was to test his strength. After all, he had enmity with Tang San, and Tang San also viewed him as an enemy. Moreover, in the finals, the Heavenly Star Academy and the Heaven Do Imperial Academy were bound to meet. Therefore, with Grandmaster's nature, he wanted to collect information on himself and think of ways to deal with him. However, Grandmaster didn't expect the Heavenly Star Academy to be so strong. Before Lu Yuan even entered the arena, they had already defeated the Thunder Academy. Since Tang San and Yu Tianheng were here, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's trump card must be a 7-figure fusion technique. Once the 7 figures fuse, Tang San would be able to use the clear sky body. Therefore, he might encounter this trump card as well. Based on Chihiro Snow's information, Lu Yuan made some speculations and basically sorted out all the connections. No wonder he kept feeling that someone was spying on him that day. He thought it was just that loser Shernyan, but now that he thought about it, there was also a master hiding in the dark. However, since Grandmaster was spying on him and collecting information, He must know that he was the captain of the Heavenly Star Academy's team and that Lu Erlong was the vice principal of the Heavenly Star Academy. Both of them would follow the team at all times, so he must know of Lu Erlong's existence. However, even now, he knew that Lu Erlong had been waiting for him, but he still didn't have any plans to meet her. This man, Lu Yuan thought to himself, and the corner of his mouth hooked up into a sneer. These people were really good at scheming, but it was a pity that no matter how many tricks they had, they couldn't withstand a single blow from absolute strength. Even if Tang San was a soul sage, Lu Yuan could still beat him up, let alone a seven-figure martial soul true body. In the end, a clown was just a clown. The so-called wisdom that he was so proud of was just a little bit of cleverness. As for how Grandmaster and the others knew that he was in the Heavenly Star Academy and specially prepared this plan, Lu Yuan didn't find it strange. They probably saw it during the opening ceremony. After all, Grandmaster loved to collect information, and he definitely wouldn't miss the Continental Elite Soul Master Tournament. Once he arrived, he would definitely see Lu Yuan. Of course, it was also possible that he found out about Lu Yuan's existence through other means. Because there were many ways to find out that he was in the Heavenly Star Academy, Lu Yuan wasn't interested. What he was interested in was how strong Tang San and the others were now. As he thought about it, he asked Chihiro Snow his question, "So, Cher, do you know how strong they are now?" "Strength? I'm not too sure about that. I haven't had much time to manage the matters of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy these days, so I only have a rough idea. Tang San seems to be a Soul King, Yu Tianheng seems to be rank 47 or 48, and Dai Mubai seems to be around the same rank as Yu Tianheng. But there's one thing that's very strange." Chihiro Snow furrowed his beautiful brows as he spoke. "What is it?" Lu Yuan asked. "I've only met them once, but they all have an aura that makes me feel very uncomfortable," Chihiro Snow said. "An aura that makes you feel very uncomfortable?" After hearing Chihiro Snow's words, Lu Yuan couldn't help but gently stroke his chin. He had a few guesses in his heart. If an aura could make Chihiro Snow, who possessed divine power, feel uncomfortable, then it was self-evident what it was. And what's even more interesting is that Tang San, Yu Tianheng, and Dai Mubai, these three fellows who have a grudge against me, have actually gathered together. Are they preparing to take revenge on me as a group? With that thought, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. "But since the three of you worked so hard to gather together, then if I don't cripple all of you in one go, then I'll be letting you down." With a faint smile, Lu Yuan turned his gaze to Chihiro Snow and continued to ask, "Cher, who are the other members of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy?" The Sher brothers, Iso, and a support-type soul master called Yi Lingling. They're all soul ancestors, and with Tang San and the other two, they're the official members of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team. Chihiro Snow said. "Is that so? That means the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team has one Soul King and 6 soul ancestors. That's one more soul ancestor than the Heavenly Star Academy's team without me. Their strength is pretty good," Lu Yuan said with a light smile. "What's the use of that? They'll still lose if they meet you." Chihiro Snow glanced at Lu Yuan as he spoke. For those who had fought with Lu Yuan before, she knew Lu Yuan's strength inside out. He was definitely an existence that far surpassed his level. Even someone like her, who had touched the threshold of a soul Douluo, was no match for him, let alone others. "Isn't losing to me inevitable?" Lu Yuan chuckled. "Oh, you." Chihiro Snow rolled her eyes at Lu Yuan. Although Lu Yuan was speaking the truth, was it really good to be so narcissistic? After being glared at by Chihiro Snow, Lu Yuan laughed mischievously. He didn't seem to mind at all. Instead, he leisurely picked up his teacup and took a sip of tea. Chapter 593. "Schwerer, there's something I need to tell you." Lu Yuan took a sip of tea and said softly. "What is it?" Chihiro Snow asked curiously. After the finals, I'll kill 2 members of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team, Lu Yuan said. Who? Chihiro Snow asked. Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai. They both have enmity with me, so I have to get rid of them. Otherwise, they'll cause trouble for me. Although I don't care about them and don't place them in my eyes, it's still a little disgusting to see them jumping around and causing trouble. Lu Yuan said. Both have enmity with you? Chihiro Snow was stunned for a moment before he reacted. His enmity with Yu Tianheng should have started back at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Back then, Lu Yuan had crushed Yu Tianheng's pride and crushed the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. That was when they started their enmity. To be more precise, Lu Yuan's enmity with Yu Tianheng was because of her. After all, Lu Yuan's actions were part of his plan. Aside from letting Lu Yuan get acquainted with Ning Fengji, the plan was also to stabilize her position in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. As for his enmity with Dai Mubai, Chihiro Snow knew that Dai Mubai was Zhu Zhuqing's fiancé. Dai Mubai would definitely take revenge for stealing Zhu Zhuqing's fiancé. Although Dai Mubai deserved it since he was the one who abandoned Zhu Zhuqing first before Zhu Zhuqing ended up with Obuchi, people only saw the flaws of others and not their own. Therefore, Dai Mubai probably hated Obuchi to the core. Furthermore, Dai Mubai was a prince of the Xianra Empire. Killing him was no big deal. Killing Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai wasn't a big deal. All he had to do was clean it up. Therefore, Chihiro Snow didn't object. So, Cher, you agree with me killing them? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. If you want to kill them, then kill them. It's not a big deal anyway. They're just 2 soul ancestors. Although their statuses aren't ordinary, that's all there is to it. Chihiro Snow said without a care in the world. Hee, I knew that Cher's boldness was extraordinary. She didn't even put the future successor of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect and the second prince of the Xianra Empire in her eyes. Impressive, impressive. It's a pity that you're a woman, Cher. If you were a man, you'd definitely be a rare ruler with great talent and bold vision. Lu Yuan said with a smile. It's a pity that I'm a woman. But if I were really a man, would you still help me like this? Chihiro Snow looked straight at Lu Yuan and asked softly. I wouldn't. Lu Yuan shook his head and said, for the sake of teacher, senior sister, and myself, I might even choose to kill you. The Pontiff Palace and the Hall of Consecration don't get along. Sooner or later, they'll fight for power and profit. We're destined to go against each other. Given my personality, I'd nip the danger in the bud. You're a real man. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This man actually said that if she were a man, he'd kill her. Couldn't he be a little more tactful? Did he really think that she wouldn't be angry? I've always been a real man. For example, I've never denied that I'm a scumbag. I'm a scumbag now. I've never hidden my desire for your body. Would I tell you that I was lusting after you the first time I saw you? Lu Yuan winked at Chihiro Snow and said with a smile. Didn't you say that you fell in love with me at first sight? Chihiro Snow's cherry mouth slightly opened and softly spat out a sentence. There's no such thing as love at first sight. All love at first sight is lustful. I'm a complete beauty lover. You're so beautiful, so I'm naturally tempted. Lu Yuan said with a serious face. Well, so you're only telling the truth now, right? When you told me that you fell in love with me at first sight, I was touched for a while. So it was because of my face? Chihiro Snow asked. Not only your face, but also your figure. I have high standards. Just having a good-looking face isn't enough. Lu Yuan said as if it was a matter of fact. Bah, you pervert, you're really a visual animal. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow couldn't help but spit and said. Visual animal, yes, I'm indeed a visual animal. But aren't you, Cher? If I wasn't handsome, would you like me? Lu Yuan asked back. That, of course I. After being asked by Lu Yuan, Chihiro Snow's eyes suddenly drifted, and her mouth murmured, unable to say a definite answer. Of course you wouldn't like me, right? You're a beauty lover. You're also a visual animal, and you're still talking about me. Lu Yuan rolled her eyes at Chihiro Snow and said, "Humph, so what if I'm a visual animal? I'm not the one who pursued you, it's you who pursued me." Chihiro Snow raised her head with a proud look on her face. Pfft. Seeing Qian Rinchue's expression, Lu Yuan couldn't help but laugh. This girl was really interesting. "So I'm the one who pursued you, and you're very proud, very proud?" Lu Yuan asked with a light smile. "Yes, I'm very proud, very proud. I'm the only woman you've pursued, unlike the other three, who all threw themselves at you." Chihiro Snow curled her lips, and had a somewhat proud look on her face. "Yes, you're the best. In fact, among the three of you, only you and Na-er are the ones I can't control at first sight. And between the two of you, you're the most attractive to me," Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. "Humph, at least you have some eyesight. This lady's charm is naturally the greatest." Chihiro Snow tenderly snorted, and then looked at Lu Yuan, and the two couldn't help but laugh at the same time. "Oh right, just now you said that after the finals, you'll kill Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai. Then what about that Tang-san? Should we kill him?" Chihiro Snow asked. "Tang-san, let's see his luck," Lu Yuan said. "See his luck?" Chihiro Snow was somewhat puzzled. If they didn't kill him, then let him go. What did he mean by see his luck? "Yes, don't ask now. You'll know in the future," Lu Yuan said with a smile. "Okay." Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow could only give up on asking. She only cursed in her heart. "This stinking bastard. He actually wants to keep me in suspense." Looking at Chihiro Snow's pouting red lips, how could Lu Yuan not know what she was thinking? He understood Chihiro Snow the most. This girl was definitely cursing him in her heart. With a cough, Lu Yuan said, "Okay, Cher, don't be angry. I have a surprise for you." "What surprise?" Chihiro Snow was somewhat curious. "Take out your divine sword. I'll upgrade it," Lu Yuan said with a smile. "Upgrade?" Chihiro Snow was stunned for a moment, and then immediately reacted. Her voice was filled with astonishment. "You've become a Class 7 Soul Engineer?" Facing Chihiro Snow's astonished gaze, Lu Yuan smiled and said softly, "Yes, I just broke through." Chapter 594. After some effort, Lu Yuan finally upgraded Chihiro Snow's holy sword from Class 6 to Class 7. Chihiro Snow's holy sword was made of the best materials. In addition, there was a soul bone in it. After the upgrade, the holy sword was upgraded to Class 7. It was better than Wang Qiu-er's Scarlet Flame Spear and Zhu Zhuqing's Clear Abyss Sword. After the divine sword had been upgraded, the divine power, light power, and flame power within it had become even stronger. Qian Rinxue simply could not bear to part with it. She even took the initiative to give Lu Yuan a deep kiss with her cherry lip. In fact, Chihiro Snow had always felt that the holy sword wasn't enough. She was already a rank 67 Soul Emperor. In addition, her martial soul was the 8-winged angel. This was a powerful martial soul that surpassed ordinary god-ranked martial souls. If she unleashed her full power, Chihiro Snow's abilities could reach the threshold of a soul Douluo. Under such circumstances, the Class 6 Holy Sword could increase her fighting strength. However, it couldn't increase her fighting strength by much. However, it was different when it was upgraded to a Class 7 Soul Tool. Not only was it more convenient to use, but its power had also increased greatly. With the Holy Sword, which was a Class 7 Soul Tool, Qian Rinxue could even take on a Soul Douluo on her own. Her strength had increased tremendously. Just as mentioned earlier, many talented Soul Masters could take on ordinary titled Douluo as Soul Sages. However, that was because of the strength of their martial soul true bodies. After all, the stronger a martial soul was, the stronger its martial soul true body would be. Under such circumstances, it was understandable that a soul sage could take on an ordinary titled soul master. However, being able to take on an ordinary titled soul master didn't mean that a soul emperor could take on a soul Douluo. This was a completely different concept. If one could say that those who could do the former were absolute geniuses, then those who could do the latter were all monsters. This kind of monstrous battle record usually only existed in creatures like protagonists or cheaters. For example, Lu De or Tang San in the original novel. And now, Chihiro Snow was also able to do this. This meant that Chihiro Snow was also gradually entering the ranks of monsters. Although she wasn't the main character, she was his girlfriend, so she could be compared with the other main characters. It had to be said that cheats were really powerful. In the battle between the main character and the cheats were still a level higher. After helping Chihiro Snow upgrade the divine sword, Lu Yuan returned to his own Dragon King Palace after a brief moment of intimacy. After all, he had just reached an agreement with the Snow Knight Emperor, so there were some things that he had to arrange properly. While Lu Yuan was busy, another week passed. In this week's time, the Heavenly Star Battle Team naturally won all their matches. Because there were no academies that accepted the challenge, for 5 consecutive days, their opponents all forfeited. Without any effort, they easily obtained another 5 victories. With the addition of these 5 victories, it could be said that the Heavenly Star Academy had already obtained 20 consecutive victories. In other words, after 7 more matches, the qualifiers would be over. However, after carefully thinking about the remaining opponents, it seemed that only the Blazing Academy could enter their eyes. The Heavenly Water Academy had already met them, which was on Wednesday of this week. On this day, the Heavenly Water Academy and the Heavenly Star Academy should have had a showdown, but the Heavenly Water Academy directly forfeited. Therefore, in the remaining 7 matches, it was very likely that the Blazing Academy was the only one left. The other academies should have chosen to forfeit. And the match with the Blazing Academy happened to be tomorrow, which was the first match on Monday morning. After this match, the qualifiers could basically be said to be bye-bye. Tomorrow's opponent is the Blazing Academy, right? In the Dragon King Palace, Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan and softly asked. Yes, it is indeed the Blazing Academy. Lu Yuan softly said. Then do you need me to play tomorrow? Zhu Zhuqing asked. There's no need for that. I'll play alone tomorrow, Lu Yuan said. Oh. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing gently nodded, very obedient. AI. Lu Yuan sighed, then gently pulled Zhu Zhuqing into his embrace, his chin lightly resting on Zhu Zhuqing's forehead. Zhuqing, there's something I need to tell you. Lu Yuan gently stroked Zhu Zhuqing's soft and silky hair as he spoke in a warm voice. What is it? Zhu Zhuqing softly asked while enjoying the warmth of Lu Yuan's embrace. I found Dai Mubai's whereabouts. He is currently at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy with Tang San and Yu Tianheng. The 3 of them are looking for trouble with me. Lu Yuan faintly smiled and said. Oh. Zhu Zhuqing said, then didn't respond. What, are you not interested? Lu Yuan asked. I'm not interested. I've had nothing to do with him for a long time. I'm only yours now, and I'll only be yours for the rest of my life. As for other men, I don't care. Zhu Zhuqing shook her head and said seriously. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's hand that was stroking Zhu Zhuqing's hair paused slightly. His heart warmed, and the corner of his mouth curved into a smile. But, Zhu Zhuqing's voice sounded again. But what? Lu Yuan asked. But since they are looking for trouble with you, they must have some kind of confidence, or prepared some kind of trump card to deal with you. You have to be careful, don't get hurt. Zhu Zhuqing said. I'll be fine, don't worry. But they might die after this tournament, especially Dai Mubai. I won't let that fellow go. He escaped quickly back in Shrek Academy, but this time, he will die without a doubt. And if he dies, your marriage contract will be cancelled. When the tournament is over, I will accompany you back home to see your mother. She should be the only family member you still care about. When the time comes, we can tell her about us and ask her to give us her blessings. What do you think, Zhu Qing? Lu Yuan asked. Okay. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing's clear eyes became misty. She was very touched and happy that Lu Yuan was so considerate of her. Then it settled. Lu Yuan laughed softly. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing nodded lightly, then hugged Lu Yuan even tighter. Feeling the pressure from his waist, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile, and the hand around Zhu Zhuqing's waist tightened. In the blink of an eye, it was already the next day. The sun rose high in the sky, but it was only around 8 in the morning. Lu Yuan and the others had already gathered in Group A. Today was the match between the Heavenly Star Academy and the Blazing Fire Academy, so it was exceptionally popular. The Heavenly Star Academy team hadn't appeared in the tournament for 8 or 9 rounds, and the audience was looking forward to seeing their wonderful performance again. So when Lu Yuan and the others entered, the audience immediately burst into deafening cheers. Chapter 595. Heavenly Star! Heavenly Star! Heavenly Star! As soon as Lu Yuan and the others entered the arena, the audience immediately started cheering. I haven't been here for a while. I didn't expect the audience to be so enthusiastic. Hearing the cheers, Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. Of course, our Heavenly Star Academy is the star team of the Heaven Do District. We have countless supporters. As soon as Lu Yuan's voice fell, Ning Rongrong's voice sounded from the side. Her tone carried a trace of pride, as if she was proud to be a member of the Heavenly Star Academy. In fact, this was the case. The Heavenly Star Academy had already gone through 20 rounds of matches in the Heaven Do District. All of them were victories, and nearly half of them were forfeited by their opponent. This kind of record was absolutely unique in the Heaven Do District. The Heavenly Star Academy was also the only team in the Heaven Do District that had not lost a single match. As for the other teams, such as the Divine Wind Academy, Thunder Academy, Botany Academy, Sky Water Academy, Elephant Armor Academy, and so on, they were either defeated or forfeited. In short, they were all defeated by the Heavenly Star Academy, so naturally they did not have a complete victory. Although the Blazing Academy had defeated the Divine Wind Academy, Feng Xiaotian forfeited, and the Thunder Academy, Yu Tianxin was unable to participate, they were defeated by the Skywater Academy. Ice and fire mutually restrained each other, but in this battle, the Skywater Academy was still superior. Shui Bing suppressed Hu Wu and obtained victory. Although the two girls' soul power was equal, the Ice Phoenix was still a bit stronger than Hu Wu's Fire Shadow. Furthermore, the Skywater Academy also had a martial soul fusion skill. This was something that the Blazing Academy could not compare with. Losing was actually a very normal thing. Looking at the proud face of Ning Rongrong, Lu Yuan could not help but smile. He then turned his head and saw that everyone's faces carried a faint pride. This kind of pride was completely from the heart. Seeing this scene, Lu Yuan's heart was slightly happy. It seemed that these members of his team had already acknowledged him as a member of the Heavenly Star Battle Team from the bottom of their hearts. This was a good thing. Only when his teammates were proud of him as a member of the Heavenly Star Battle Team would the cohesiveness of the Heavenly Star Battle Team be stronger. Accompanied by the cheers of the audience, Lu Yuan and the others arrived at the waiting area. Opposite them was a group of people from the Blazing Fire Academy. Seeing Lu Yuan's gaze move over, Hu Wushuang nodded in a friendly manner. In response to Hu Wushuang's goodwill, Lu Yuan also responded with a faint smile. Since the other party had taken the initiative to express goodwill, he couldn't lose his manners. However, since Hu Wushuang had expressed his goodwill, Lu Yuan thought to himself, I can go easy on him later. His gaze shifted slightly as he glanced at the viewing area and the VIP seat. At this moment, the seats were already filled with people. There were quite a few familiar faces in the viewing gallery. Apart from the Blazing Fire Academy, the rest of the 4 elemental academies were present, including the Thunder Academy that had suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of the Heavenly Star battle team. Apart from them, there were also a few other battle teams present. It seemed like many other academies were very interested in today's battle between the Heavenly Star Academy and the Blazing Fire Academy. As for the VIP seats, needless to say, there was the handsome middle-aged sect head of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, Ning Fengji, his bodyguard, the Bone Douluo, the Platinum Bishop of the Martial Soul Palace, Sakas, and the little expert at courting death, Snowy Knight Emperor, who was in poor health but liked to wander around. On the Dragon King Palace's side, there was a different person today. The chair-gnawing expert, Douluo, wasn't online, but was replaced by the bright phoenix Douluo Yen Xiaozhe. Sensing Lu Yuan's gaze sweeping over, Ning Fengji and Snowy Knight Emperor couldn't help but smile and nod at Lu Yuan. Seeing the two of them nod, Lu Yuan also nodded slightly as a greeting, and then shifted his gaze away. The news of the alliance between the Dragon King Palace and the Heaven Do Empire had already spread. It could be said that it was like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples, causing widespread controversy and discussion. It didn't have much of an impact on the ordinary powers. Logically speaking, the Martial Soul Palace and the Xianra Empire should be the most shocked. The Martial Soul Palace didn't have much of a reaction. Others might not know, but how could they not know? Don't forget who the Dragon King Palace belonged to. Among the upper echelons of the Martial Soul Palace, basically everyone knew about Lu Yuan's identity. However, the Xianra Empire was different. They were clearly a lot more cautious. With the Dragon King Palace supporting the Heaven Do Empire, the Heaven Do Empire's strength had increased significantly. This wasn't a good thing for the Xianra Empire. Currently, the Xianra Empire, the Heaven Do Empire, and the Martial Soul Palace were resisting each other. The Heaven Do Empire and the Xianra Empire were resisting the Martial Soul Palace because the Martial Soul Palace had been too strong in recent years. The two empires were also in constant conflict. If it weren't for the Martial Soul Palace's suppression, the two empires would have already gone to war. It could be said that these 3 empires didn't see eye to eye with each other. Therefore, after knowing about the cooperation between the Dragon King Palace and the Heaven Do Empire, the Xianra Empire was naturally more vigilant. Half an hour of preparation time wasn't considered short, but it wasn't long either. Soon, the time was up, and both parties began to enter the arena. After receiving the announcement from the host, Lu Yuan waved his sleeves slightly and leisurely walked onto the arena alone. In the spectator area, Shui Yuer looked at Lu Yuan and couldn't help but whisper, "Prince Charming is going up alone this time. Is he going to fight 7 people by himself?" It seems like it. Fighting 7 people by himself is indeed in line with his character. Shui Yuer sighed softly and said, "It seems like today's battle will be very interesting." Feng Xiaotian stroked his chin and said softly. However, he changed his tone after a second thought. "I only hope that pervert Lu Yuan will go easy on him and not hurt my little sister Fire Dance." Feng Xiaotian's tone carried a hint of worry. "Ba bootlicker." Hearing Feng Xiaotian's words, Shui Yuer couldn't help but curl her lips and secretly spat. "You Hearing Shui Yuer's muttering, Shui Yuer couldn't help but glare at her. Being glared at by Shui Yuer suddenly stuck out her tongue in embarrassment and had a playful look on her face. Shui Yuer, who was used to Shui Yuer's character, couldn't help but shake her head. Her gaze turned slightly and fell on the arena. There, Lu Yuan and the Blazing Fire Academy's entire team had already entered the arena. Next up is the match between the Heavenly Star Academy and the Blazing Fire Academy. We can see that the Heavenly Star Academy has finally entered the arena again after their last match with the Weathered Academy. As for the Heavenly Star Academy's next appearance, everyone has been looking forward to it for a long time, right? The host's slightly excited voice sounded. Yes. Heavenly Star. Heavenly Star. As soon as the host finished speaking, the audience's cheers suddenly rang out. The entire arena was filled with the audience's cheers. Chapter 596. Listening to the cheers of the audience, the host smiled with satisfaction. His job was to arouse the enthusiasm of the audience and make the atmosphere of the competition even more enthusiastic. With a chuckle, he continued, "And in this competition against the Blazing Academy, our Heavenly Star Academy actually only sent their captain, Lu Yuan, out. Could it be that after the 2 versus 7 match against the Weevil Academy, our contestant Lu Yuan will have to fight 1 versus 7 again? Contestant Lu Yuan, are you sure you want to fight 1 versus 7 in this match?" The host asked Lu Yuan. "I'm sure," Lu Yuan said with an indifferent nod. "Good, contestant Lu Yuan has already stated that he will fight 1 versus 7 from the Blazing Academy. So, will contestant Lu Yuan be the one to win this match? Or will the Blazing Academy be a level higher and win? Let's wait and see. I now announce that the first match of the 21st round of the qualifiers, the match between the Heavenly Star Academy and the Blazing Academy, will now begin." After getting Lu Yuan's response, the host immediately announced the start of the match in a loud voice. And in a split second, the audience once again shouted and cheered. "Phew, your popularity is really explosive." Looking at Lu Yuan, Huo Wushuang said with a chuckle. The shouts of the audience were unceasingly heard, but listening carefully, they were basically supporting the Heavenly Star Academy and Lu Yuan. The voices supporting the Blazing Academy were few and far between. Hearing that, Lu Yuan smiled faintly and didn't answer. His gaze lightly swept, taking in the strength of the Blazing Academy's team. 3 Soul Ancestors and 4 Soul Exalt. Their team composition was the same as that of the Wangjia Academy, but the fact that the Blazing Academy had managed to defeat the Wangjia Academy meant that they were a lot stronger than that bunch of simpletons. And among the 3 Soul Ancestors of the Blazing Academy, Huo Wushuang was rank 43. The other Soul Ancestor seemed to have just broken through and was only rank 41. The highest rank was Huo Wu, rank 44. However, at this moment, Fire Dance was staring at Lu Yuan with an expressionless face. Her gaze made Lu Yuan feel a little strange. "Speaking of which, what's wrong with your sister? I don't owe her money, right? Why is she staring at me like that?" Lu Yuan looked at Huo Wushuang and asked softly. "It has nothing to do with you. It's my sister. Ever since she lost to Shui Bing last time, she's still sulking." Huo Wushuang gently shook her head and said, "You don't have to be like this even if you lose a match. Brother Wushuang, your sister is very competitive," Lu Yuan said. Hearing this, Huo Wushuang smiled bitterly. This was his sister's personality. As her brother, there was nothing he could do about it. "Are you done?" "If you're done, you can begin." Fire Dance's indifferent voice rang out as she listened to Lu Yuan and Huo Wushuang's conversation. "Let's begin, then," Lu Yuan said with a faint smile at Fire Dance's words. "All right." Huo Wushuang responded and took a step forward. He cupped his fists and said softly, "Huo Wushuang, martial spirit, single horn flame, hey!" Before Huo Wushuang could finish his words, he was interrupted by Lu Yuan. "No need to report your level. Let's begin." "All right, let's begin." Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Huo Wushuang nodded and stomped his foot. His body was covered in red light as he directly possessed his martial spirit. At the same time, Fire Dance and the other 5 also completed their martial spirit possession. Under the state of martial spirit possession, Huo Wushuang's body was covered in a layer of dark red scales. There was a short horn protruding from his head that was about 3 inches long. "Single horn flame dragon martial spirit?" Looking at Huo Wushuang's transformation, Lu Yuan said indifferently, "The single-horn flame dragon martial spirit's attack power wasn't bad. It also had the explosive power of flames. It could be considered a top-grade martial spirit. However, this martial spirit didn't have the ability to transform into a dragon. It was slightly inferior to the blue lightning tyrant dragon. Moreover, when a dragon martial spirit encountered him, the result was a little wonderful. Moreover, Huo Wushuang's attribute was fire. This was even more wonderful." Thinking of this, Lu Yuan couldn't help but secretly smile. His gaze turned to Huo Wu. There was an orange figure on her body. This figure was very illusory. It was Huo Wu's martial spirit, Fire Shadow. After the Fire Shadow martial spirit possession, Huo Wu's body was filled with a fiery aura. Yellow, purple, and purple soul rings were faintly shining. At this moment, she was looking at Lu Yuan's figure. Her eyes were filled with a burning desire to fight. "Ah, come." Looking at the Blazing Academy's lineup, Lu Yuan said with a smile. "Then let's go." Huo Wushuang roared. A resonant dragon's roar resounded. His body was covered in dense flames. A pair of sharp claws covered in scales directly clawed at Lu Yuan. At the same time, the other members of the Blazing Academy also launched their attacks one by one. 2 members with Fire Crane martial souls directly opened a pair of dazzling wings and went straight for Lu Yuan. The 2 soul masters with Fire Star martial souls also launched their support. That's right, their role was to support. Specks of fire entered the bodies of the other 5 soul masters from the Blazing Academy. Immediately, the aura of these 5 people rose by a knot. Regardless of whether it was their speed or attack, they all increased by a lot. At this moment, Huo Wu and the other soul ancestor with the Fire Leopard martial soul, who hadn't moved until now, also launched their own attacks. The Fire Leopard Soul Master directly released 7 dark blue fireballs and shot them at Lu Yuan. Huo Wu's body was also emitting a dense red light. The power of fire rose up, and one fireball after another directly smashed in Lu Yuan's direction. It could be said that the entire Blazing Academy had launched an attack right at the start of the match. They didn't hold back in the slightest. This was because they all knew how valiant the man opposite them was. In this kind of situation, if they still dared to hold back, they would be courting death. "Heh!" Lu Yuan chuckled. Looking at the attacks coming at him from all directions, his face was still as calm as before. There wasn't the slightest fluctuation in his expression. His right hand lightly stretched out, and his white palm directly slapped towards Huo Wushuang. Under Huo Wushuang's somewhat astonished gaze, Lu Yuan's hand and his sharp claws collided. There weren't any violent energy fluctuations as imagined, nor were there any earth-shattering sounds. Furthermore, there weren't any injuries to Lu Yuan's right hand that many people had imagined. With just a single palm, Lu Yuan easily slapped away Huo Wushuang's dragon claws. Then, he lightly landed on Huo Wushuang's chest. When Lu Yuan's palm landed on Huo Wushuang's body, the raging flames on Huo Wushuang's body were completely dispersed. With a slight movement of his palm, Huo Wushuang's body was immediately sent flying backwards at an extremely fast speed, landing beside Fire Dance. Chapter 597. Big Brother. Huo Wu couldn't help but let out a cry of alarm when she saw Huo Wushuang being sent flying by a single palm strike. She quickly asked with concern in her voice, "Big Brother, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Lu Yuan held back. Huo Wushuang said loudly as he got up and patted his chest. Just now, Lu Yuan's control over the strength of his palm had reached an extremely exquisite degree. Although Huo Wushuang had been sent flying so far away, he had the horned fire Tyrannosaurus martial soul. His defense was relatively strong, and his body was relatively sturdy. Secondly, under Lu Yuan's control, the force that hit Huo Wushuang's body had already been transmitted to the stage when Huo Wushuang landed on the ground. Huo Wushuang didn't suffer any major injuries because the force was completely vented. Is it true, Big Brother? Huo Wu didn't believe Huo Wushuang's words. After all, how could he be unharmed after being sent flying so far? It's true. Huo Wushuang said, Big Brother is full of energy right now. Does it look like something happened to him? No. Huo Wu shook her head gently. But since Huo Wushuang was fine, Huo Wu felt relieved and turned her gaze back to the battlefield. On the battlefield, Lu Yuan was strolling leisurely. His pace was slow, but every step he took was enough to dodge all the attacks. He gently stretched out his hand and casually patted the blue fireball sent by the fire leopard's soul ancestor. Lu Yuan's white and tender hand didn't suffer the slightest damage and was still sparkling like white jade. Screech! 2 sharp screeches rang out as the 2 soul masters with fire cranes pounced towards Lu Yuan. Their bodies were covered in dense flames and their gorgeous wings were spread open. The tips of their wings were incomparably sharp. Using their speed, they flew towards Lu Yuan. Not a bad idea. You want to win with speed? However, even though you guys are flying-type soul masters, you guys aren't as fast as me. After saying that, Lu Yuan's figure moved. A golden light appeared under his feet. The sound of a dragon's roar resounded. A golden dragon's shadow appeared under Lu Yuan's feet. Suddenly, Lu Yuan soared into the sky. He didn't use any external force. He just flew directly in the sky. Flying in the air, this was the effect of the dragon's swimming footwork in the Great Void of the Dragon. The Great Void Dragon was an extremely powerful self-created soul skill that fused attack power and movement into one. It was something that Lu Yuan had painstakingly created for 5 years. Among Lu Yuan's self-created soul skills, only his newest spear art, life slaughtering, could barely compare to it. It was definitely one of Lu Yuan's greatest killing weapons. Once the Great Void Dragon was unleashed, Lu Yuan's overall strength would increase by several times. It wasn't inferior to the martial soul true body's enhancement to a soul sage. Speaking of which, the Great Void Dragon was actually a little similar to a martial soul true body. However, there were also differences. A martial soul true body could only be possessed by a soul sage. Furthermore, once one entered a place like the City of Massacre, the martial soul true body would lose its effect. However, the Great Void Dragon was different. Not only could it allow Lu Yuan to transform into a divine dragon when he was a soul king, but more importantly, it was a self-created soul skill. It wasn't restricted by soul rings, and could be used anytime and anywhere. Furthermore, since the Great Void Dragon was a self-created soul skill, it could be passed down. This meant that others could also learn it. This was the power of the Great Void Dragon. With the help of the dragon's swimming footwork, Lu Yuan soared into the sky. This instantly astonished everyone present. He can fly without wings? This is... Ning Fengji's mouth was wide open. He was astonished. What the hell is going on? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Only a titled Douluo could fly without releasing his martial soul. Furthermore, only a powerful titled Douluo could do this. Ordinary people couldn't even think about it. However, what's going on with Lu Yuan? Not only Ning Fengji, but the Snowy Knight Emperor and Sakas were also astonished. Who had seen Lu Yuan's move before? Could this be the power of a soul bone? The Bone Douluo couldn't help but ask. Soul bone. After hearing the Bone Douluo's words, everyone nodded. If this was the case, everything made sense. However, just as everyone thought that this was the power of a soul bone, Yan Xiaozhi's voice rang out. This isn't a soul bone. This is my master's self-created soul skill, the Great Void Dragon's swimming footwork. It allows one to walk on air. This is a self-created soul skill? After hearing Yan Xiaozhi's words, everyone was stunned. After that, they were completely astonished. This is a self-created soul skill? Is this another self-created soul skill? Your Majesty, how many self-created soul skills does Obuchi have? Ning Fengji couldn't help but ask curiously as he recalled the many self-created soul skills that he had seen Lu Yuan unleash back then. I'm not sure about that. There are quite a few. The Hallmaster is very talented in this aspect. He has created many self-created soul skills, Yan Shaozhi said softly. After hearing this, Sokka's and the others couldn't help but turn silent. Others would be called a rare genius if they could create one self-created soul skill. Your Hallmaster has actually created many self-created soul skills? This many is a little weird. Everyone felt a little uncomfortable in their hearts. This is definitely not jealousy. Let me reiterate, this is definitely not jealousy. The few of them said quietly in their hearts. Haha, Obuchi is quite impressive. The corner of Ning Fengji's mouth twitched and he laughed dryly. His heart was also churning violently as he looked at Lu Yuan's elegant figure. His gaze was slightly focused. This youth can no longer be described as a genius, right? He was slightly glad that his relationship with him wasn't bad. Furthermore, he had Rong Rong. When he thought of Ning Rongrong, Ning Fengji couldn't help but smile. It seems like whether the Seven Treasures Glazed sect can progress further in the future will depend on Rong Rong. Ning Fengji thought to himself. Screech! When they saw Lu Yuan suddenly fly up, the two Flamingo Soul Masters were extremely shocked. A person who hadn't even released his martial soul was flying in the air. This scene had a huge impact on them. Even Huo Wu, who was not far away and wanted to help, was a little stunned. Go down! With a move, Lu Yuan appeared above the two Flamingo Soul Masters and lightly spat out 3 words. With 2 light kicks, the two Flamingo Soul Masters were directly kicked down from the air. The flames on their bodies were useless against Lu Yuan, and couldn't touch Lu Yuan at all. Fire cloud, fire rain. Huo Wu and Huo Wushuang couldn't help but cry out at the same time when they saw the two Flamingo Soul Masters being kicked away and falling on the stage. Before they could go forward to check, a white light flashed, and Lu Yuan's figure was already in front of Huo Wushuang and Huo Wushuang. A faint smile hung on the corner of his mouth. There's something I forgot to tell you too. Actually, I also have fire immunity. Chapter 598. There's something I forgot to tell you. Actually, I also have fire immunity. Standing in front of Huo Wu and Huo Wushuang, the corners of Lu Yuan's mouth curled up as he spoke in a faint voice. Fire immunity? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Fire Dance and Huo Wushuang's expressions darkened almost simultaneously. They felt as if they had just swallowed a fly. Their hearts were filled with disgust. It was no wonder why this fellow didn't seem to care about their flame attacks at all. He had even scattered the flames on their bodies with a light slap. It turned out that he actually had fire immunity. This was a little disgusting. They weren't a match for this fellow to begin with. Yet, this fellow actually had fire immunity. After all members of the Blazing Fire Academy possessed the fire attribute. Huo Wushuang's heart bled. If he had known that this fellow was fire immune, he wouldn't have participated in the match. Wasn't this purely to disgust him? Seeing his opponent fail to harm a single hair even after using all his strength was definitely not a pleasant feeling. So, do you two still want to continue? Lu Yuan asked, smiling softly as he looked at Fire Dance and Huo Wushuang's darkened expressions. Continue? What's the point of continuing? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Huo Wushuang immediately spat out. Less than 30 seconds had passed since the start of the match, and 3 of his team members had already been sent flying. Their joint attack had also been completely nullified. Shi Feng had easily crushed 7 of them. The difference in strength was simply too massive. However, this wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that after Shi Feng had leisurely nullified all of their attacks, he had actually casually said, "I'm fire immune." To Huo Wushuang, this was extremely unfriendly. Huo Wushuang's mind was on the verge of exploding. This was the same feeling Tang San had when he first heard that Lu Yuan's Golden Dragon War body was immune to control-type skills. He felt as if he had screwed a dog over. Then, does Miss Fire Dance still wish to continue? Hearing Hu Wushuang's words, Lu Yuan knew that this fellow didn't wish to continue. Hence, he immediately shifted his gaze to Fire Dance. Fire Dance stared at Lu Yuan with her fiery red eyes. Her eyes were filled with unwillingness. She clenched her jade-like fists, and her plump chest heaved up and down. She was really unwilling. Even if she had lost, she had no complaints. After all, Lu Yuan was so strong. It was normal for him to lose. But now, Lu Yuan also had a skill that made him immune to fire. This was somewhat disgusting. This meant that all of his skills had lost their effectiveness at the same time. Losing like this was too depressing, because this wasn't a loss in terms of strength. How could that despicable Lu Yuan have such a disgusting skill like fire immunity? And even if you do, can't you just keep it to yourself? Or you can talk about it after you're done. But now that he said it out loud, should I continue to fight or admit defeat? Continue fighting? Knowing that you're immune to fire but still continuing to fight, isn't that just looking for trouble and disgust yourself? But he was unwilling to admit defeat. Fire Dance clenched her fists in anger. Miss Fire Dance, do you still want to fight? Looking at Fire Dance's appearance, Lu Yuan asked again. We admit defeat. Fire Dance tightly looked at Lu Yuan, and forced out these 4 words from between her teeth. Obviously, her mind was somewhat blown away by Lu Yuan's words. Very good, a wise choice. Hearing this, Lu Yuan faintly smiled. Taking the initiative to admit defeat was good. After all, he had a good impression of the Blazing Fire Academy. If they didn't admit defeat and really fought, it wouldn't be good to injure someone. This was also the reason why he said those words. Otherwise, with Fire Dance's competitive nature, she would definitely go all out to deal with him. Of course, he wouldn't have any problems, but he was afraid that the girl would be injured. Now that they took the initiative to admit defeat, it was a good thing. The match is over. Heavenly Star Academy wins. Since the Blazing Fire Academy admitted defeat, the host's voice immediately sounded, announcing Heavenly Star Academy's victory. This match was a bit anticlimactic. Lu Yuan had just returned to the waiting area when Zhu Zhuqing's voice sounded. The main reason was that I was too lazy to fight. Their strength was too low, and I had a good impression of the Blazing Fire Academy. I didn't want to injure them, so I directly told them that I was immune to fire. Knowing this, they took the initiative to admit defeat. Lu Yuan softly laughed. Oh! Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing nodded, indicating that she understood. Today's match is over. I estimate that there shouldn't be any more matches in the qualifiers. We can directly prepare for the promotion match. Lu Yuan said with a chuckle. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing slightly nodded. Then we can go back now. After we go back, I have some things to say to everyone. Lu Yuan's eyes slightly glanced, and said to everyone. Okay. Everyone nodded. Then let's go. Lu Yuan softly said, then turned around and left. Everyone in the Heavenly Star Academy also followed behind Lu Yuan, and the group of people walked towards the entrance of the arena. Heavenly Star Academy, Inner Court, Training Grounds. Captain, what exactly do you want to say to us, so serious? Looking at the serious face of Lu Yuan, Ling Wei was somewhat curious and immediately asked. Yes, brother, what exactly is the matter? Wang Qiuer echoed. Looking at everyone's somewhat curious gaze, Lu Yuan slightly smiled and said, Today, I gathered everyone together because there is indeed an important matter to tell everyone. For the promotion match, I may not be able to lead everyone to participate. I have some important matters to attend to, so I will hand over the command of the team to Zhu Qing. As for the promotion match, Zhu Qing will lead everyone to participate. And, hearing Lu Yuan's words, everyone couldn't help but be stunned. Did Lu Yuan just say that he couldn't lead everyone to participate in the promotion match? Important matter. What important matter? Brother, can you tell Chior? Wang Chior went forward and hugged Lu Yuan's arm, and asked in a delicate voice. Temporarily not, this matter has to be kept a secret. Gently pinching Wang Chior's pink cheeks, Lu Yuan smiled and said, All right then. Hearing this, Wang Chior drooped her small head and said somewhat dejectedly. Seeing Wang Chior's dejected appearance, Lu Yuan couldn't help but gently rub her head, comforting her. Being intimately rubbed by Lu Yuan, Wang Chior's eyes immediately narrowed into crescent moons, revealing an expression of enjoyment, and the previous disappointment was swept away. Captain, do we have to leave? Looking at Lu Yuan, Fu Qinsheng softly asked. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded and said, This matter is very important and it has to be done. Furthermore, the time is not short, and it is not something that can be done in 1 or 2 days. Therefore, the promotion match will depend on yourselves. With Zhu Qing's strength and Qinsheng's control, it won't be difficult for you to pass the promotion match. Chapter 599. That's why Zhu Qing, Qinsheng, I'll leave the rest of the team to the two of you. Zhu Qing will be in charge of leading the team, while Qinsheng will be in charge of planning and strategizing. There won't be any strong opponents in the qualifier round. Only the teams from the 4 elemental academies are worthy of our attention. The two of you are strong enough. If Zhu Qing takes the field, she'll be able to sweep the entire competition as a Soul King. After all, the qualifier round is a demonstration of one's strength. It's a one-on-one battle, and the strongest team on our side is a one-on-one battle. Zhu Qing, Chior Lingwei, Qinsheng, you're all good at one-on-one battles. You won't have any problems passing the qualifier round. That's why my presence shouldn't have much of an impact. Lu Yuan smiled as he spoke. No, your presence will have a huge impact on us. If you're here, we won't be afraid of anything. If you're not here, our team will lose its backbone. Everyone is actually very reliant on you. Lu Yuan had just finished speaking when Duguyan's voice rang out. She rebutted Lu Yuan's words. Duguyan is right. Captain, you're our spiritual pillar. When you're here, we're not afraid of any opponents. However, when you're not here, we feel a little anxious. After Duguyan finished speaking, Ning Rongrong chimed in. Really? Am I that important? Lu Yuan chortled. You are. To us, you're the most important. Wang Qiu'er immediately answered Lu Yuan's question. Her pinkish-blue eyes blinked, and there was a look of attachment in them. When he saw Wang Qiu'er's eyes, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. He reached out and gently caressed Wang Qiu'er's smooth, bright golden hair. Lu Yuan lifted his head and looked at everyone. He had a serious expression on his face as he said, I'm very grateful that everyone trusts me and relies on me. However, I'm really going to leave for a while. Furthermore, you can't always rely on me. You need to be independent. This departure is a test for all of you. The content of the test is the promotion competition. I request that all of you don't lose a single match. If you can do it, after the finals, each of you will have a gift. I guarantee that this gift will definitely satisfy all of you. What I want to know now is, do you have the confidence to complete my test? Yes. Everyone shouted in unison. Very good, very imposing. Lu Yuan was very satisfied with everyone's confidence. He smiled and said, That's it then. Everyone is dismissed. However, even after Lu Yuan's voice fell, no one left. What's the matter? I told you to disperse. Why are you still here? Lu Yuan asked with a smile when he saw that the crowd didn't move at all. Captain, I'd like to ask. You're leaving for the promotion round, but will you be back for the finals? Fu Qinsheng asked softly. Of course. I'll be back for the finals with everyone. After hearing Fu Qinsheng's words, Lu Yuan finally understood why they weren't leaving. They were all concerned about whether he would be back for the finals. As he thought until here, Lu Yuan couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. He smiled and said softly, "All right." After hearing Lu Yuan's words, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They could still handle the promotion round, but without Lu Yuan, they really didn't have the confidence to win the finals. Furthermore, they really wanted to fight alongside Lu Yuan in the finals. After receiving Lu Yuan's confirmation, they felt as if a huge rock had been lifted from their hearts. After that, everyone left one by one. Only Lu Yuan, Zhu Zhuqing, and Wang Qiu'er remained. "Oh Buqi, what's the matter that made you leave halfway through the competition?" Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but ask as she looked at Lu Yuan. After hearing this, Wang Qiu'er, who was hugging Lu Yuan's left arm, couldn't help but raise her head. Her face was filled with curiosity. After gently pinching Wang Qiu'er's tender cheeks, Lu Yuan pointed at the holy sword insignia on his head. He sighed and said, "It's all because of this. Has your second test started?" Zhu Zhuqing was a little surprised as she asked. "Yes, I received the news before I went on stage today. That's why I had to leave. You know how important this thing is." Lu Yuan sighed softly. "Yes." After hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently. After that, she seemed to recall something and asked, "Then, Chihiro's snow?" "Naturally, Shui will be going back with me." Lu Yuan nodded and said, "Oh." Zhu Zhuqing replied softly, "Zhuqing, I'll have to trouble you to work hard over the next few days. I'll have to trouble you to take care of the Heavenly Star team and Qiu'er. This is especially so for Qiu'er. She looks obedient on the surface, but she's actually very active on the inside. You have to discipline her well, and don't let her go out and cause trouble." Lu Yuan said softly, "I know. Leave it to me." Zhu Zhuqing said, "Yes, I'm not worried about you." As Lu Yuan spoke, he lowered his head and pinched Wang Qiu'er's cheeks. "Qiu'er, remember to listen to your sister-in-law. Do you understand? If I find out that you're disobedient and cause trouble, I'll send you back directly. Elder brother Qiu'er will be obedient. Don't send Qiu'er back. It's very boring there." Wang Qiu'er tugged at Lu Yuan's sleeve. She had a pitiful look on her face, and her large, powdery blue eyes sparkled. She looked so pitiful that even the most cold-hearted person would soften at the sight of her. Lu Yuan was no exception. "That will depend on your performance, Qiu'er. If you perform well, I'll reward you." Lu Yuan smiled as he said, "Yes, don't worry, elder brother. I'll perform well." When she heard Lu Yuan say that there would be a reward, Wang Qiu'er's eyes brightened. She hurriedly expressed her attitude to Lu Yuan. When he heard this, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. He stroked her golden hair again. "When are you planning to leave?" Zhu Zhuqing asked. "In the next few days. I'll look for share later to confirm the exact time." Lu Yuan said softly as he looked at Zhu Zhuqing. "Crown Prince's residence. In Chihiro Snow's study. I knew you'd come." When he saw Lu Yuan suddenly appear in the study, Chihiro Snow's hand paused as he was reading some documents. He revealed a beautiful smile on his face as he spoke softly. "The second test has already started. How can I not come?" He took 2 steps forward and pulled a chair over to sit opposite Chihiro Snow's desk. As he looked at Chihiro Snow, Lu Yuan smiled as he spoke. "You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."